They say the lantern guides the lost, but here...
There's been some chatter on social media overnight about a product recall. Nutrivance Corporation, the health beverage company, they've issued a voluntary recall on their new probiotic drink line. The one they launched about 6 weeks ago, RevitaFlora, I think it's called. Emily's got the details here. According to the statement released around 3 this morning, certain batches may have experienced temperature control issues during distribution. They're asking consumers to check lot numbers on the bottom of bottles. The company says there's no immediate health risk, but they're recalling out of an abundance of caution. Traffic is moving smoothly on the interstate. No major delays reported. The usual slowdown near the Harrison Street exit, but nothing out of the ordinary. Coffee's hot here in the studio, and I've got Emily pulling together the morning's news segments. Should be a relatively quiet Monday for most of you heading into work. This is Daniel Rothman, broadcasting on 1004.7 FM. It's Monday, April 14th, 6:47 in the morning. If you're just tuning in, welcome. We're starting the week with some unusual weather patterns moving through the metro area. Light fog is expected to clear by mid-morning. Temperatures climbing to around 62 degrees by noon. Traffic update. We're getting word of a fender bender on Route 7 northbound, just past the Miller Road overpass. 2 vehicles involved. Emergency services are on scene. Right lane is blocked. If you're heading that direction, expect delays. Give yourself an extra 10-15 minutes. Standard corporate language, really. Temperature control issues usually mean the product might taste off or lose effectiveness. Nothing that would typically make headlines. But it's worth mentioning if you've got some of these bottles at home. The lot numbers are being posted on Nutrivance's website. I'll have Emily read those out in a bit. The probiotic drink market has exploded in the last few years. Everyone's trying to get a piece of it. Nutrivance went big with their marketing campaign. Billboards everywhere, television spots during prime time. They claimed their formula was revolutionary. Something about genetically optimized bacterial strains that work better with human gut flora. I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak to the validity, but they certainly invested heavily in the launch. It's interesting timing. Nutrivance stock was doing well. The RevitaFlora line was being called a game changer in the industry. Health food stores couldn't keep it on shelves for the first few weeks. Now a recall, that'll sting their quarterly numbers. Back to the recall. Nutrivance has distribution centers across the country. The one here in our metro area is over on Industrial Parkway. Big facility, employs about 200 people in warehousing and logistics. The recall notice mentions that the affected batches were processed through multiple centers, including ours. Emily's trying to get someone from their local office on the line for a statement, but it's early. Probably won't hear back until regular business hours. The sun's starting to come up outside the studio windows. Sky's got that gray-pink quality to it. Fog's thick out there. Visibility maybe a quarter mile. If you're driving, headlights on, take it slow. No rush getting anywhere on a Monday morning. I've been doing this show for 11 years now. Morning drive, 5 days a week. You get into a rhythm with it. The city wakes up in stages. First the early shift workers, the bakers, the warehouse crews, the hospital staff changing over. Then the construction workers, the retail managers opening their stores. By 8, everyone's moving. It's like watching a machine come to life, piece by piece. Emily just handed me an update. The Nutrivance recall affects lot numbers N70743 through N7891. That's a pretty wide range. If you purchased RevitaFlora probiotic drinks in the last 3 weeks, check your bottles. The lot number is printed on the bottom in small text near the barcode. Nutrivance is offering full refunds at the point of purchase or through their customer service line. Weather forecast for the rest of the week looks decent. Newsday might bring some rain in the afternoon. Wednesday through Friday should be clear. Temperatures gradually warming. Spring is finally settling in properly. The parks should be beautiful this weekend if you're planning to get outside. There's a city council meeting scheduled for tomorrow evening. On the agenda, proposed changes to the downtown parking ordinances and a discussion about funding for the public library system. If you're interested in local governance, the meeting starts at 7 p.m. in the municipal building. Public comments are welcome. Sports update. Our local college basketball team made it to the regional finals over the weekend. Lost by 4 points in the closing minutes. Disappointing end to what was otherwise a solid season. The players gave it everything they had. Sometimes that's how it goes. Emily's monitoring police scanner traffic. Nothing unusual coming through. A couple of traffic stops. A reported break-in at a convenience store on the east side, but officers are handling it. Quiet morning for emergency services so far. I'm looking at the news wires here. International markets opened mixed overnight. European stocks mostly flat. Asian markets closed slightly down. Oil prices holding steady. The economic indicators don't suggest anything dramatic on the horizon, just the usual fluctuations. There's a story out of Washington about new FDA guidelines for genetically modified food products. The regulations are being updated to account for advances in biotechnology. Public comment period opens next month. It's technical stuff, but it affects what ends up on grocery store shelves. Consumer advocacy groups are already preparing their positions, some arguing for stricter labeling requirements, others saying the current system is adequate. The Nutrivance recall fits into that broader conversation about food safety and genetic modification. Their marketing materials emphasize that their bacterial strains were specifically engineered for optimal human health benefits. Whether that's true or just advertising copy, I can't say. But when you start modifying organisms at the genetic level, there's always a question of long-term effects. The science is complex. The regulatory framework tries to keep pace, but technology moves fast. Traffic on Route 7 is clearing up. The fender bender has been moved to the shoulder. Tow trucks are handling the vehicles. Traffic flowing normally again. The morning commute is picking up volume now. Interstate showing some congestion near downtown exits, but nothing out of the ordinary for this time of day. Let me read you this. Email just came in from a listener. Name's Patricia. She says she bought 3 bottles of the Revita Flora drink last week at her local supermarket. Checked the lot numbers and 2 of them are on the recall list. She's asking if she should be concerned since she already drank 1 bottle. Patricia, based on what Nutrivance is saying, there's no health risk. The recall is precautionary due to possible temperature issues during storage. If you're not experiencing any symptoms, you're probably fine. But if you're worried, contact your doctor. That's always the safest route with these things. The fog is starting to lift a bit. I can see farther down the street now. Traffic lights blinking through the haze. A few pedestrians walking dogs. The coffee shop across from the station has its lights on. They open at 6. I can see people inside getting their morning caffeine. Music break coming up. When we return, I'll have the full weather forecast, more traffic updates, and Emily should have the complete list of store locations accepting returns for the Nutrivance recall. You're listening to 104.7 FM. This is Daniel Rothman. Stay with us. We're back. It's 7:14 a.m. Daniel Rothman with you on 104. The morning commute is in full swing now. Traffic volume is heavy on all major routes into downtown, but everything's moving. No accidents to report at the moment. Weather conditions improving as the fog continues to dissipate. Should be clear skies by 8 o'clock. Emily's been going through the Nutrivance recall information. Major pharmacy chains are accepting returns, supermarket chains as well. Basically anywhere you might have purchased the product. Keep your receipt if you have it, but most places are being flexible given the recall circumstances. The company is taking this seriously from a customer service standpoint, whatever the underlying issue might be. I want to circle back to something I mentioned earlier, the Nutrivance Distribution Center on Industrial Parkway. Emily made some calls during the music break. The facility appears to be operating normally this morning. Trucks in and out, no unusual activity visible from the street. She spoke briefly with someone in the shipping department who said they received notice of the recall overnight and are pulling affected inventory. Standard procedure for this type of situation. The worker Emily spoke with mentioned that there was some kind of incident at the facility over the weekend. He didn't have details, just that there were emergency vehicles there Saturday evening. Could be unrelated to the recall. Industrial facilities have all sorts of issues. Equipment malfunctions, minor injuries, that sort of thing. But the timing is interesting. Let me be clear, I'm not suggesting anything nefarious, just noting the coincidence. A recall gets announced early Monday morning. There was apparently some kind of emergency at the local distribution center Saturday evening. Could be completely separate event. Correlation doesn't equal causation, as they say. Traffic update. Slow down on the interstate near the Grand Avenue exit. Looks like volume related, not an accident. Give yourself extra time if you're heading that way. Alternative routes would be Madison Street or the old highway, though those will probably be backed up too as people divert. The news cycle moves fast these days. By tomorrow, the Nutrivance recall will probably be buried under other stories. That's how it works. Something captures attention for a few hours, then something else takes its place. But for the people directly affected, for the workers at the distribution centers, for the consumers who bought the product, it remains relevant. Context matters. I'm seeing some social media posts from people who work at the Nutrivance facility. One person, username PalletJockey217, posted about 12 hours ago that their shift was sent home early Saturday night. They said something about a contamination scare in one of the storage sections. Hazmat protocols initiated. Again, this is secondhand information from social media, so take it with appropriate skepticism. But it adds a data point. I'm going to try to get someone from the company on the phone. Emily's working on it. We'll see if anyone's available to provide clarification. In the meantime, I want to stress that we're simply reporting what information is publicly available. We're not making claims about what happened or didn't happen at the facility. Emily's pulling up more posts. There's a few from different users, all claiming to work at the facility or know someone who does. References to workers getting sick. One post mentions seizures. Another talks about a lockdown that lasted several hours. The posts are vague and there's no official confirmation of any of this. Could be rumors, could be exaggeration, could be people conflating separate incidents. It's 7:31 now. The sun's fully up. The city looks normal. People going about their Monday morning routines. Cars lined up at traffic lights. Buses making their stops. The rhythm of urban life continuing as it always does. But patterns can be disrupted. That's when things get interesting or concerning depending on your perspective. A recall notice. An unusual emergency at a warehouse. Social media chatter that doesn't quite align with official statements. These are small disruptions, probably nothing, but they catch your attention because they break the expected pattern. There's comfort in routine, isn't there? The predictability of it. You know that Monday morning will look a certain way. The same traffic patterns, the same coffee shop line, the same radio voice talking you through your commute. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. We find security in repetition. Emily just handed me a note. She got through to Nutrivent's corporate communications. They're issuing a statement at 9 a.m. They'll send it to us as soon as it's released. That's 2 hours from now. Gives them time to coordinate their message. Corporate Crisis Management 101. Control the narrative. Traffic's easing up slightly. The worst of the morning rush is probably behind us for the downtown corridor. Suburban routes will stay busy for another hour or so as schools start their day. Let me read another email. This one's from Trevor. He works night security at an office building near the Nutrivent's distribution center. He says he saw multiple ambulances at the facility Saturday night around 10 p.m. Counted at least 5 emergency vehicles. Police cars, too. The area was cordoned off. He couldn't see what was happening inside, but the response seemed significant. Trevor's asking if we know anything about it. I'm not being cynical. That's literally how it works. When a company faces a potential PR problem, they gather information, consult with legal, prepare a statement that addresses concerns without admitting liability. It's a dance. Sometimes the statement answers questions, sometimes it raises more. Trevor, we don't have official information about Saturday night's incident. We're trying to get details. If there were multiple ambulances, that suggests something more serious than a routine workplace injury, but again, we're speculating. The authorities haven't released any public statement, neither has the company beyond the recall notice. The silence is notable, though. In my experience, when companies or officials are quick to say everything's fine, no cause for alarm, it usually means everything actually is fine. When there's prolonged silence followed by carefully worded statements, that's when you start to wonder. I want to emphasize we're still in the wondering phase here. Nothing confirmed, just pieces of information that don't quite form a complete picture yet. Emily's monitoring emergency radio channels. There's been a call for additional units to respond to an address on Industrial Parkway. That's the warehouse district where the Nutrivent's facility is located. The specific address wasn't given over the radio, at least not in the transmission Emily caught. Units are being dispatched, but it's coded as a welfare check, not an emergency response. It's 7:49. Weather's cleared up nicely. Temperature is 56 degrees. Should reach the mid-60s by early afternoon. Good day to have your lunch outside if you get the chance. The downtown park area should be pleasant. A welfare check usually means someone called in concerned about a person who hasn't been heard from, or it could be a security issue. It's fairly routine. Officers go, they assess, they handle it, not typically newsworthy. But given everything else this morning, it's worth noting. I've covered enough news cycles to know that most concerning situations resolve without drama. A recall gets processed, inventory gets cleared, the company issues an apology and maybe a settlement, and everything moves on. That's the likely trajectory here. The city's emergency management office hasn't issued any alerts, no public safety warnings, no advisories. Life is proceeding normally for the vast majority of people listening right now. You're driving to work, dropping kids at school, stopping for groceries. The systems that support daily life are functioning. That's important to remember. Context and proportion. Yes, there's a product recall. Yes, there was apparently some incident at a warehouse over the weekend. Yes, there's increased emergency service activity in that area this morning. But the city of 3 million people is going about its business. The scope of whatever this is remains quite small. Emily just got off the phone with City Police Public Information Office. They confirm units are on scene at multiple locations in the industrial district. The spokesperson described it as an ongoing situation being assessed. No injuries reported to the public at this time. No requests for people to avoid the area. Just acknowledgement that officers are present and working. That's vague language. Ongoing situation being assessed could mean anything. But the public information officer wouldn't have said even that much if it was completely routine. They would have just said officers are conducting normal business or declined to comment. Traffic update. We're getting reports of unusual congestion on Industrial Parkway itself. Several listeners have called in saying the road is partially blocked by emergency vehicles. Police are directing traffic around the area. If you need to access businesses in that district, you might face delays. Plan accordingly. It's coming up on 8 o'clock. Let me give you the news headlines. Then we'll continue monitoring this developing situation. I'm not trying to alarm anyone. I'm parsing official language because that's part of what I do. When authorities use certain phrases, it tells you something about how they're categorizing an event. Top of the hour news. Good morning, this is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. It's Monday, April 14th, 8 a.m. Our lead story this morning, Nutrivents Corporation has issued a voluntary recall of its Revitaflora probiotic beverage line due to potential temperature control issues during distribution. The recall affects lot numbers N7743 through N. Consumers are advised to check bottles and return affected products to point of purchase for full refund. The company states there is no immediate health risk, but is recalling out of abundance of caution. In related developments, emergency services are responding to what's being described as an ongoing situation at the Nutrivents distribution facility on Industrial Parkway. Police and fire units are on scene. Authorities have not released details but confirm they are assessing the situation. Industrial Parkway is experiencing traffic delays due to emergency vehicle presence. In other news, the City Council will meet tomorrow evening to discuss downtown parking ordinances and library funding. The meeting begins at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Building. That's your 8 o'clock news update. Stay tuned for continuing coverage as information becomes available. Traffic is heavy, but moving on major routes. Industrial Parkway remains partially blocked by emergency response activity. Seek alternate routes if possible. Weather today calls for clearing skies, temperatures reaching the mid-60s. Fog has dissipated from the morning commute. Expect pleasant spring conditions through the afternoon. I want to bring in some context about probiotic products generally. These are beverages or supplements containing live bacteria. Beneficial bacteria, supposedly. The idea is they help balance your digestive system. The science supports that certain bacterial strains do have health benefits, but you're essentially consuming living organisms. If those organisms are compromised or if they're the wrong strains or if they've mutated in some way, there could be health effects. We're back. Emily's been monitoring multiple scanner frequencies. There's a lot of radio chatter between units, medical terminology that I'm not qualified to interpret, but she's catching phrases like multiple patients, containment protocols, and requesting additional medical transport. The language suggests something more complex than a simple workplace accident. Containment protocols would indicate either a hazmat situation or possibly a biohazard concern. That would align with the product recall involving a probiotic beverage. If there was contamination of some kind at the facility, you'd expect containment procedures. If you have a facility where temperature control failed, and you have genetically modified bacteria in a nutrient-rich beverage medium, and those bacteria are exposed to temperature fluctuations, they could potentially undergo rapid mutation. That's basic microbiology. Whether that happened here, I have no idea. But it would explain why you'd see containment protocols and medical responses. Nutrivents marketed their product as containing genetically modified bacteria, not modified in the GMO crop sense, but bacteria that had been selectively cultured and optimized. That was their selling point. More effective than traditional probiotic formulation. But genetic modification of any organism carries inherent uncertainties. Bacteria mutate rapidly. That's their evolutionary advantage. They adapt quickly to changing conditions. Again, I'm speculating based on available information. We don't have confirmed facts about what's happening at the facility. It's 8:17. Traffic is starting to thin out as the peak commute period passes. Most people who needed to get to work by 8 are already there. The roads will stay moderately busy through 9 or so, then lighten up considerably. Desmond says he reviewed the company's published research data when it was released and noticed that the long-term stability testing was incomplete. Specifically, the bacteria showed unexpected metabolic activity when exposed to temperatures above normal refrigeration but below cooking temperatures. The range where food might sit if left out too long or if a refrigeration system partially failed. Emily just received an email from someone named Desmond. He identifies himself as a microbiologist at the state university. He's been following the Nutravents recall and has concerns. According to Desmond, the bacterial strains used in the RevitaFlora product were experimental. They were developed in partnership with university research labs, but the commercialization happened faster than normal peer review processes would typically allow. This is heavy speculation from someone we can't verify, but Desmond included his university email address and references to published papers. Emily's checking his credentials now. If he's legitimate, his concerns carry weight. He's suggesting that if workers at the distribution center were exposed to spoiled product, and if that product contained mutated bacteria, there could be neurological effects. Some bacterial toxins affect the nervous system. Botulism is the famous example, but there are other mechanisms. Some bacteria produce compounds that mimic neurotransmitters or interfere with neural signaling. The pieces are starting to form a pattern. Experimental bacteria, temperature control failure, workers getting sick, emergency response with containment protocols. It could all be coincidental, but the pattern has shape. I'm going to try something. Emily, can you pull up the Nutravents Investor Relations page? Publicly traded companies have to file reports with the SEC. There might be information there about safety testing or clinical trials. Emily tells me we have someone on hold who says they work at the hospital emergency department. Caller, are you there? While she's doing that, let me take a caller. Line 3. You're on the air with Daniel. Emily's relaying that the caller, who wants to remain anonymous, says they've received 3 patients this morning from the Industrial Parkway area, all presenting with similar symptoms: severe muscle spasms, altered mental status, elevated heart rate, and blood pressure. The patients are non-responsive to normal treatment protocols. 2 of the 3 have had seizures while in the emergency department. The caller says hospital administration has been in contact with the CDC and state health department. They're treating this as a potential infectious disease outbreak until proven otherwise. The patients have been isolated. Staff treating them are using enhanced protective equipment. Anonymous caller, thank you for that information. Please stay safe. The symptoms described match what you might see with certain neurotoxins. But the fact that multiple people are showing identical symptoms after exposure at the same location suggests a common source, in this case likely the Nutravants facility. It's 8:34. The situation is clearly more serious than initial reports suggested. We're going to stay on this. I'm suspending normal programming. Will continue with news coverage and updates as they develop. This is significant. If the hospital has contacted the CDC, that indicates they believe this could be a communicable disease situation. The CDC doesn't get involved in routine poisonings or individual medical cases. They respond to potential outbreaks, to situations that could spread to larger populations. The filing states that Nutravents believes it has adequately addressed the FDA's questions and doesn't anticipate regulatory action. That was as of 2 weeks ago. Now we have a recall and a potential outbreak situation. The company's assurances to the FDA may have been premature. When a company mentions FDA inquiries in an SEC filing, that's noteworthy. The FDA doesn't casually ask questions. If they're making inquiries, it means something in the safety data caught their attention or raised concerns. Emily's found the SEC filings. Nutravents submitted their quarterly report 2 weeks ago. There's a section on risk factors, standard legal language about how their products might not perform as expected, how regulatory changes could affect business, etc. But there's an interesting line here. It mentions that the company received inquiries from the FDA regarding their pre-market safety testing protocols for the RevitaFlora product line. From a corporate perspective, this is a crisis. From a public health perspective, we're still assessing the scope. 3 patients hospitalized. Multiple emergency responders on scene at the facility. We don't know how many workers might have been exposed or whether this could spread beyond those directly involved. I'm looking at the stock market now. Trading opened at 9:30 Eastern, which was about an hour ago. Nutrivant shares are down 19% in early trading. The market is reacting to the recall news. Investors are spooked. If news of the hospital cases becomes public, those shares will drop further. Emily's monitoring social media. There's increasing chatter. People who live near the industrial district are posting photos of emergency vehicles. One image shows what looks like a mobile command center. Another shows personnel in full hazmat suits entering a building. These images are being shared widely now. The story is getting out ahead of any official narrative. Radio silence from a corporation in crisis is telling. It usually means lawyers and crisis management consultants are scrambling to figure out the least damaging path forward. Every word in that eventual statement will be carefully chosen. The Nutrivant's corporate statement that was supposed to come at 9 a.m. hasn't been released. It's past 9 now. Either they're still crafting their message, or they've decided to delay given the evolving situation. Meanwhile, the actual situation continues to develop. Emergency responders don't wait for corporate communications. They're dealing with whatever they found at that facility. A decontamination station suggests they're treating this as a hazardous materials incident. Anyone who is exposed needs to be cleaned before being transported to medical facilities. That prevents potential spread of whatever the contaminant is. Emily says she's hearing requests for a decontamination station to be set up, also references to transporting additional patients. The hospital caller mentioned 3 patients. Sounds like there may be more now. Let me check in with Emily. Any updates from police scanner? If this is bacterial contamination, decontamination would involve removing clothing, washing thoroughly, possibly using antimicrobial solutions. Standard hazmat protocols, but it also means the responders believe there's risk of transmission. That's concerning. We don't know the exact nature of the contamination. We don't know how many people were exposed. We don't know if this presents a risk to the general public. We don't know the prognosis for those who are ill. It's 9:08. I need to be very clear about what we know and what we don't know. We know there's a product recall. We know emergency services are responding to the Nutrivant's facility. We know at least 3 people, possibly more, have been hospitalized with similar symptoms. We know the hospital contacted the CDC. If you work at or near the Nutrivant's facility on Industrial Parkway, follow instructions from emergency personnel. If you were at the facility over the weekend and are feeling unwell, contact your doctor or go to an emergency room. Mention your potential exposure. If you purchased Revitaflora products, do not consume them. Follow the recall instructions if you've already consumed the product and feel fine. You're probably okay, but monitor yourself for any unusual symptoms. If you develop severe headaches, muscle spasms, seizures, or altered mental state, seek medical attention immediately. The responsible thing is to report factually while avoiding speculation that could cause unnecessary panic. At the same time, people have a right to information that could affect their safety. Emily just got word that a press conference is being scheduled. The city's emergency management director and the health department will brief the media at 10 a.m. That's in about 50 minutes. We'll carry that live when it happens. For everyone else, there's no reason to believe this affects you. Continue your normal activities. Stay informed, but don't panic. A press conference means officials have enough information to make a public statement. It also means they believe the public needs to be informed. That's both reassuring and concerning. Reassuring because it shows the system is working. Authorities are responding appropriately. Concerning because they apparently feel the situation warrants a formal public briefing. Traffic update. Industrial Parkway remains closed to through traffic. Police have established a perimeter around several blocks in that area. Businesses in the affected zone have been asked to close for the day. Workers are being told to go home or to alternate locations if their companies have them. I'm trying to maintain perspective here. Yes, this is serious. Yes, it's developing rapidly. But we're talking about an area of maybe 10 square blocks in a city of 3 million. The vast majority of you are nowhere near the affected area and face no direct risk. That's a significant step. Closing businesses and clearing an area suggests they're expanding the safety perimeter. They want fewer people potentially exposed to whatever the hazard is. However, if this is a bacterial contamination issue and if those bacteria can spread person to person, then the calculus changes. That's why the CDC is involved. They're experts in tracking and containing outbreaks. The concerning outbreaks are the ones that spread before they're identified, or the ones involving pathogens with long incubation periods or that are highly contagious. Nothing we've seen so far suggests this fits those categories. The symptoms appear to manifest quickly after exposure, which actually makes containment easier. You know who's sick, you know where they were, you can act accordingly. Let me talk about disease outbreaks for a moment. Most outbreaks are contained quickly. You isolate infected individuals, you trace their contacts, you monitor those contacts for symptoms. Modern epidemiology is quite effective. We have systems in place specifically for this scenario. It's 9:23. I've been on the air for nearly 3 hours now. Normally at this point I'd be transitioning to music rotation and taking a break, but we're staying with news coverage. Emily's keeping the coffee coming and pulling information as it becomes available. I want to read you something. This is from the Nutrivent's website, specifically their product information page for Revitaflora. It says the beverage contains 3 proprietary bacterial strains, Lactobacillus neurophilus, Bifidobacterium cerebralis, and Streptococcus mentis. Those names are unusual. Standard probiotic products use well-known strains like Lactobacillus acidophilus or Bifidobacterium longum. These names suggest bacteria that affect neurological or mental function. Neurophilus, related to neurons to nerve cells. Cerebralis, related to the cerebrum, the brain. Mentis, related to the mind. These are bacteria specifically engineered to interact with the nervous system. That was their innovation, gut bacteria that could influence neural health, potentially affecting mood, cognition, mental clarity. Emily's waving at me. What do you have? The gut-brain axis is legitimate science. There are documented connections between digestive system bacteria and brain function. But deliberately engineering bacteria to enhance those connections is cutting-edge work. The kind of research that takes years of careful study to ensure safety. If Nutrivent's rushed this to market, if they skipped steps or ignored warning signs in their safety data, and if those bacteria mutated into something harmful, then we're looking at a worst-case scenario for this type of biotech product. The aerial view gives you a sense of scale. This is a major response, not a minor incident being handled by a few first responders. This is a full emergency mobilization. She's showing me a news alert. A major news network is reporting on the situation. They're calling it a health crisis at a beverage distribution center. They have aerial footage from a helicopter. I'm watching it on the monitor here. You can see dozens of emergency vehicles, fire trucks, ambulances, police cars. The building is surrounded. There are personnel in protective suits moving in and out. The news network is citing unnamed sources saying there are at least a dozen people showing symptoms, with more potentially exposed. They're reporting that the CDC has dispatched a field team from their Atlanta headquarters. That team would include epidemiologists, microbiologists, public health experts. Emily, do we have any contacts among the first responders who might be willing to talk? When the CDC sends a field team, it means they're treating this as a serious potential outbreak. They don't mobilize resources lightly. It's 9:37. The press conference is scheduled for 10. I expect officials will provide more details then. In the meantime, let me see if we can get anyone from the scene. We have a caller, line 1. Go ahead. She's shaking her head. Everyone's tied up with the response, understandable. Their priority is dealing with the situation, not talking to media. Let me take calls then. If anyone out there has information, has seen something, knows someone affected, please call in. Our number is on your screen if you're watching the stream, or it's 555. Emily's relaying this. The caller is named Ingrid. She works as an administrative assistant at a medical supply company 2 blocks from the Nutrivent's facility. She arrived at work this morning around 7:30. By 8, emergency vehicles were everywhere. She says her boss told everyone to leave, that police were asking businesses to evacuate the area. Ingrid left, but she's worried about her coworker Felix, who was on the early shift, 4 a.m. start time. He was there when the emergency response began. She hasn't been able to reach him on his cell phone. She's asking if we know anything about workers in the area who might have been detained or taken for medical evaluation. Ingrid, I don't have specific information about individuals. If your coworker was in the affected area when the response started, he may have been asked to stay for evaluation. That would explain why he hasn't responded. I wouldn't assume the worst. He's probably fine, just not able to use his phone while being processed through whatever safety protocols they've established. Try to stay calm and keep trying to reach him. Joaquin, were you inside the facility or just at the loading dock? Another caller. Line 2. This is Joaquin. He's a delivery driver. He made a drop-off at the Nutrivent's facility Saturday morning. He says the receiving dock workers seemed off. One of them was sweating heavily even though it was cool outside. Another kept rubbing his arms like he was cold. Joaquin didn't think much of it at the time, but now he's wondering if he was exposed to anything. Based on what we know, which isn't everything, the contamination seems to be contained to the facility itself. If you were only briefly at the loading dock and didn't enter the building, your exposure risk is probably minimal. But if you start feeling unwell, especially if you develop the symptoms we've been discussing, get medical attention and mention your visit to the facility. He says just the loading dock. He handed off the delivery, got a signature, and left. Total time maybe 5 minutes. It's coming up on 10 o'clock. The press conference should be starting soon. Let me check if we have a feed. Emily's confirming we're connected to the City Hall media briefing room. We'll go live as soon as it begins. Officials are about to brief the media on the situation. We'll take you there live. While we wait, let me recap for anyone just joining us. Nutrivents Corporation, a health beverage company, issued a recall this morning for their probiotic drink line due to temperature control issues. Emergency services have been responding to the company's distribution facility since early this morning. Multiple people have been hospitalized with severe symptoms, including seizures and altered mental status. The CDC has been contacted and is sending a field team. A section of the industrial district has been evacuated as a precaution. Director Kirkland is stepping to the podium. All right, we're getting the feed now. I can see the briefing room. There's a podium with city seal. Several officials are taking their seats. I recognize the emergency management director, Thomas Kirkland. Next to him is Dr. Angela Vasquez, the city's health director. A few others I don't immediately recognize, probably CDC representatives and possibly police leadership. He's thanking everyone for coming. He's saying they want to provide an update on the situation at the Nutrivents facility. He's asking for patience as they work through preliminary information. Kirkland is explaining that emergency services received a call at approximately 6:23 this morning. The supervisor at the Nutrivents distribution center reported multiple workers ill with similar symptoms. First responders arrived to find 7 workers experiencing what he's describing as acute medical distress. 7 workers initially. The numbers keep growing. He's saying that upon arrival, additional workers began showing symptoms. The decision was made to evacuate the facility and establish a safety perimeter. Current count is 14 people with confirmed symptoms, all being treated at area hospitals. Approximately 50 additional workers were at the facility and have been isolated for medical evaluation. 14 confirmed sick, 50 potentially exposed. That's a significant exposure event. Dr. Vasquez is describing the symptoms. Patients are presenting with rapid onset neurological effects, tremors, seizures, altered consciousness. Some are displaying what she calls extreme agitation and involuntary muscle contractions. Several patients have been sedated to protect them from harming themselves during seizures. Kirkland is turning it over to Dr. Vasquez for the medical update. She's saying all patients are in critical condition. The medical teams are working to stabilize them, but the symptoms are not responding to standard treatments. They're consulting with toxicology experts and infectious disease specialist. Dr. Vasquez is confirming CDC involvement. She's saying this is being treated as a potential biological contamination event. They're testing for bacterial, viral, and toxic causes. She's explaining that out of an abundance of caution, they've asked people who were at or near the facility over the weekend to self-monitor for symptoms and to contact their healthcare provider if they feel unwell. Kirkland is taking that one. He's saying they're investigating all possibilities. The recall and the facility incident occurred in close proximity, so they're examining potential links. He's declining to speculate on specific causes until they have laboratory confirmation. A reporter is asking about public risk. Dr. Vasquez is saying that at this time they have no evidence of community spread. All affected individuals were present at the facility. They're implementing contact tracing to identify anyone who may have had close contact with affected workers outside the facility. Another reporter asks about the Nutrivents product recall. Is it connected? A reporter asks about the bacterial strains in the Nutrivents product. Could they be responsible? Someone asks if this could be terrorism or sabotage. Kirkland says there's no evidence of intentional harm at this point. They're approaching it as an industrial accident or contamination event. Dr. Vasquez is saying that's one line of investigation. The product contains genetically modified bacteria. If those bacteria were compromised or mutated, there could be health effects. They're conducting tests now. Results will take time. The press conference is wrapping up. Kirkland is saying they'll update the public as information becomes available. He's asking people to rely on official sources and to avoid spreading rumors. The feed is ending. They're leaving the podium. She's stressing that anyone who consumed the recalled product and feels fine should not panic. The recall is precautionary. If you've consumed it without ill effects, you're likely okay. But if you develop symptoms, seek care immediately. It's 10:24. Let me open the phone lines again. If you're out there and have information, questions, concerns, call in. All right, we're back to the studio. That was the official briefing. 14 people critically ill, 50 more being evaluated. The situation is serious, but officials are maintaining that there's no evidence of community spread. The key phrase there, at this time, no evidence. That's not the same as saying it can't spread. It means they haven't detected spread yet. Contact tracing is underway, which means they're actively looking for any indication that it might be spreading beyond the facility. Renata is saying the patients aren't responding to anticonvulsants or sedatives in normal doses. They're having to use amounts that would typically render someone unconscious, but these patients remain in states of extreme agitation, even when sedated. We have multiple lines lighting up. Let me take them one at a time. First caller, Emily, says this is Renata. She's a nurse at one of the hospitals receiving patients. She can't give details about specific cases, but she wants people to understand how serious this is. She's saying the symptoms are unlike anything she's seen in 15 years of emergency nursing. The muscle contractions are so severe that patients are injuring themselves. They've had to physically restrain people to prevent them from breaking their own bones during seizures. Renata, thank you for calling. Please stay safe and thank you for the work you're doing. She's also saying something disturbing. One patient who had been sedated and restrained somehow broke the restraints. Bed restraints are designed to hold people during medical emergencies. Breaking them requires extraordinary strength. Security had to intervene. Next caller, line 3. This is Thaddeus. He's a biochemist. He's been following the news and has a theory. He thinks the genetically modified bacteria in the Nutravance product may have undergone horizontal gene transfer. That's when bacteria exchange genetic material with other bacteria. If the modified strains acquired genes from pathogenic bacteria also present in the spoiled product, they could have become harmful. He's explaining that the nervous system effects could be caused by bacterial neurotoxins. Some bacteria produce compounds that interfere with neurotransmitter function. If you have bacteria actively producing these toxins inside a person's body, especially bacteria engineered to cross the blood-brain barrier, which these appear to be designed to do given their names and intended function, you could see severe neurological symptoms. Thaddeus is suggesting that the bacteria might still be alive and active in the patients. Standard antibiotics might not be effective against genetically modified strains. The bacteria could be reproducing inside the patients, producing more toxins. That's a terrifying scenario. If the bacteria are alive and multiplying inside people, treating the patients becomes much more complex. You'd need to kill the bacteria without releasing all their accumulated toxins at once, which could overwhelm the patient's system. The study was promising but noted significant safety concerns. The bacteria were difficult to control once inside the body. They tended to reproduce beyond intended levels. The research was discontinued pending further safety evaluation. Emily's showing me something on her computer. It's a medical journal abstract, a study from 3 years ago about using genetically modified bacteria as delivery systems for neurological treatments. The idea was that you could engineer bacteria to cross the blood-brain barrier and deliver therapeutic compounds directly to brain tissue. If Nutravance used similar technology for their product, and if that technology had the same control problems, you could have bacteria spreading through patients' bodies, crossing into their brains, producing unknown compounds. It's 10:41. I need to take a break. I've been on air for over 4 hours straight. Emily's going to monitor the scanners and news feeds. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay with us on... I'm back? It's 10:48. While I was out of the studio, Emily caught some concerning chatter on emergency frequencies. There are reports of additional cases, not just at the original facility, but at other locations. A convenience store clerk on the east side, a high school teacher, 3 residents of an apartment complex downtown. Dr. Vasquez said during the press conference that there was no evidence of community spread at that time. That was less than 30 minutes ago. Either these new cases developed extremely rapidly or they were incubating and just now became symptomatic. If these are genuine additional cases and if they're confirmed to have the same condition as the warehouse workers, then we're looking at community spread. That changes everything. These are people with no apparent connection to the Nutravance facility, but they're displaying similar symptoms: severe muscle spasms, altered mental state, seizures. The incubation period, the time between exposure and symptom onset, is critical information. If it's very short, hours rather than days, that's actually better for containment. You can identify and isolate cases quickly. If it's longer, people could be spreading it without knowing they're infected. Emily's trying to confirm these reports. It's possible they're false alarms. People hear about an outbreak, they start attributing every illness to it. Someone with the flu might think they have the contamination. Someone having a panic attack might think they're showing symptoms. We need confirmation. But if even some of these reports are legitimate, we have a problem. What I can tell you factually, we have 14 confirmed critical patients from the facility. We have 50 more people from the facility under medical evaluation. We have unconfirmed reports of additional cases in the community. The CDC is involved. The situation is being taken very seriously by authorities. I'm looking at social media again. The volume of posts has exploded in the last 30 minutes. Everyone watched the press conference. Now everyone's talking about it. Speculation is rampant. Some people are claiming the government is downplaying the severity. Others are saying it's being overblown by media. The truth is probably somewhere in between. What I can't tell you, the exact cause, the full extent of exposure, whether it will spread further, what the outcome will be for those affected. It's 10:56. Let me check traffic and weather because life does go on for most people. Traffic is light now, mid-morning lull. Weather is beautiful, sunny, mid-60s. Seems almost surreal to talk about pleasant weather while this is unfolding. Human psychology is interesting. Even in a crisis, we compartmentalize. Most of you listening are probably continuing your day, working, running errands, making lunch plans. And that's appropriate. You can be aware of the situation without being consumed by it. Unless you were at the Nutravents facility or in close contact with someone who was, your immediate risk is low. Continue taking normal precautions. Wash your hands. If you feel sick, stay home. Standard public health advice. A hospital closing its emergency department doesn't happen often. It indicates they're treating this as a mass casualty event. Not in the sense of deaths necessarily, but in the sense of multiple critical patients requiring intensive care simultaneously. Emily just handed me a note. The hospital where Renata works has closed its emergency department to new non-critical patients. They're diverting ambulances to other facilities. That's a significant step. It means they're overwhelmed with the outbreak patients and need to focus resources there. Other area hospitals are being notified to prepare for potential overflow. Medical supply chains are being checked. They want to ensure adequate stocks of sedatives, restraints, monitoring equipment. Let me take another caller. Line 1, you're on. Emily tells me this is Portia. She's calling from home. Her husband works at the Nutravents facility. Third shift. So he was there Saturday night. He came home Sunday morning complaining of a headache and muscle aches. She thought he was just tired from work, but this morning he's worse. He's confused, doesn't recognize her. His hands are shaking uncontrollably. She called 911, and an ambulance is on the way. The healthcare system is mobilizing. That's good. It means we have institutional responses in place. But it also underscores the severity. Portia, you did the right thing calling for help. Make sure the paramedics know your husband works at the Nutravents facility and was there Saturday night. That information is critical for his treatment. Stay with him, try to keep him calm if you can. The medical team will take care of him. Portia's crying now. She's asking if he'll be okay. I can't answer that. I don't know. The doctors will do everything they can. Hang in there. This is the human element of crisis. Behind every case number is a person. Behind every patient is a family worried sick. Portia's husband went to work Saturday night, probably just looking forward to the weekend being over, and now he's critically ill. No warning, no chance to prepare. It's 11:09. I'm seeing news alerts on multiple channels now. This story is going national. Major networks are picking it up. Mysterious illness strikes beverage facility workers. CDC investigates possible outbreak in metro area. Headlines are dramatic, as they tend to be. The attention is a double-edged sword. More awareness means more resources and public pressure to solve the problem. But it also means more panic, more misinformation, more people claiming to have symptoms when they don't. The zombie framing dehumanizes the victims and spreads fear disproportionate to the actual risk. Yes, this is serious. No, it's not a movie scenario. Emily's monitoring social media trends. The Nutravents recall is trending nationally. So is the term zombie bacteria, which is unhelpful. People are making connections to the fact that these are genetically modified bacteria affecting the nervous system and jumping to science fiction conclusions. To be absolutely clear, we are not dealing with zombies. We're dealing with a bacterial contamination that is causing severe neurological symptoms. The patients are human beings suffering from a medical condition. They need treatment and compassion, not sensationalism. I'm getting word that another press briefing is being scheduled for 1 p.m. That's less than 2 hours from now. Authorities must have significant updates to warrant another briefing so soon. In crisis management, you typically want to control the flow of information. Too many updates and you seem panicked. Too few and you seem like you're hiding something. Scheduling another briefing 90 minutes after the first one suggests the situation is evolving rapidly and they need to keep the public informed in real time. Let me read an email that just came in. This is from Dr. Kavita Sharma, an infectious disease specialist at the University Medical Center. She's providing some clinical perspective. She's particularly concerned about what she calls post-seizure behavior. Typically after a severe seizure, patients are exhausted and disoriented, but gradually recover baseline function. These patients aren't following that pattern. Even after seizure activity stops, they remain in states of extreme agitation. Some are exhibiting what she describes as predatory behavior, fixating on hospital staff and attempting to bite or scratch them. Biting and scratching. Those are not typical symptoms of neurological illness. Dr. Sharma suggests the bacteria may be affecting the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotion and basic drives. If that system is damaged or hyperactivated, you could see aggressive behavior. Dr. Sharma writes that she's been consulted on several of the outbreak patients. She describes their condition as presenting like severe encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain. But the onset is too rapid for typical viral encephalitis. She suspects a bacterial toxin is responsible. It's 11:28. Traffic update. The perimeter around the industrial district has been expanded. Several more blocks are being cleared. Businesses are cooperating. This is precautionary as they continue to assess the contamination area. Weather continues pleasant. I keep mentioning weather because it's part of the normal rhythm of a broadcast, but it feels increasingly inconsequential given the situation. But this is still fundamentally a medical condition. It can be studied, understood, and hopefully treated. The patients aren't monsters. They're sick people whose brains are being affected by a bacterial infection. If you develop these symptoms, seek medical care immediately. Call ahead to let the hospital know you may have been exposed to the outbreak. This allows them to prepare and take appropriate precautions. Monitor yourself for symptoms. Key signs would be severe headache, muscle tremors or spasms, confusion, fever, unusual behavior. Let me try to provide some practical information. If you're concerned about potential exposure, wash your hands frequently. This is always good advice, but especially now, we don't know exactly how this spreads. But hand hygiene prevents transmission of most pathogens. Avoid the industrial district area unless absolutely necessary. Follow all instructions from emergency personnel. If you have the recalled Nutrivents product, do not consume it. Handle it carefully if you're disposing of it. Wear gloves. Bag it securely. Better yet, authorities may want to collect samples for testing. Check local emergency management websites for disposal instructions. 23 people in critical condition from a bacterial outbreak. That's substantial. Our hospital system is robust, but if cases continue increasing at this rate, we could face capacity issues. Emily's got an update from the hospital. The number of confirmed outbreak patients is now at 23. That's an increase of 9 in the last hour. The rate of new cases is accelerating. Don't panic, but do stay informed. There's a difference between reasonable caution and paranoia. I'm seeing reports that medical personnel from neighboring counties are being put on standby to assist if needed. The state health department is coordinating resources. This is becoming a regional response. Mentioning the National Guard in a health crisis context sometimes alarms people, but they have medical units, logistics capabilities, and can help with things like setting up field hospitals or distribution of supplies. It's a resource, not a military response. The governor's office has issued a statement. The governor is monitoring the situation and has directed all state resources to be made available to support local response efforts. The National Guard has been notified but not yet activated. That's standard preparation, not an indication of imminent deployment. If you're genuinely at risk, if you were at the facility or in direct contact with affected individuals, you may be under instructions to quarantine. Follow those instructions. Don't flee. It's 11:44. I need to address something. We're getting calls from people asking if they should leave the city. Evacuate. Get away from the outbreak. I understand the impulse, but please think carefully before making that decision. Mass evacuation could actually spread the problem if people who are infected but not yet symptomatic leave and carry the bacteria to other areas. Officials haven't ordered evacuation and almost certainly won't unless the situation deteriorates dramatically. Stay calm, stay informed, follow official guidance. For everyone else, there's no reason to leave. You're safe in your homes, at your workplaces. Life continues. Panic and irrational decisions cause their own problems. Traffic accidents from people rushing to leave. Stores being overwhelmed by panic buying. Families separated because someone decided to drive 3 states away on an impulse. Lucinda, tell your customers that there is no prophylactic treatment recommended at this time. If they haven't been exposed, they don't need medication. If they have been exposed, they should be in contact with medical professionals who will prescribe appropriate treatment. Another caller. Emily says this is Lucinda. She works at a pharmacy. She says they've been inundated with people trying to fill prescriptions for antibiotics. People are demanding medications to protect themselves from the outbreak even though they have no exposure. This is exactly the kind of counterproductive panic response I was just talking about. Taking antibiotics without medical need is harmful. It contributes to antibiotic resistance. It depletes supply that might be needed for people who actually require treatment. I want to acknowledge the challenge of covering a developing situation like this. Information comes in fragments. Some of it's reliable, some isn't. I'm doing my best to verify before reporting, but in a fast-moving crisis, the picture is incomplete. I know you're probably dealing with frightened, angry people. I'm sorry you're in that position, but please, refuse to dispense unnecessary antibiotics. It's the right thing to do. It's 11:58. Almost noon. We're approaching 6 hours of continuous coverage. I'm going to stay on air through the 1 p.m. press briefing and beyond if needed. Normal programming is suspended. If I've said anything that turns out to be inaccurate as we get more information, I apologize. My intent is to keep you informed, not to spread misinformation. At the same time, I have a responsibility to report what we're seeing and hearing, even if it's disturbing or uncertain. You deserve to know what's happening. Emily just showed me footage from a hospital parking lot. News crews are camped outside. Families of patients are arriving, some being turned away because of isolation protocols. It's heartbreaking to watch. People desperate for information about their loved ones being told they can't see them because of contamination risk. But many of the patients aren't coherent. They're sedated or too agitated to safely interact with phones. Their families are left wondering, worrying, imagining the worst. The hospitals are in an impossible position. They need to protect public health, but they also understand these are people's family members. They're trying to facilitate phone calls when possible so families can at least speak to patients who are coherent enough to communicate. It's noon. Let me give you a comprehensive update. 23 confirmed critical patients from the outbreak, all connected to the Nutrivance facility either as workers or close contacts of workers. Symptoms include severe neurological effects, seizures, extreme agitation, altered mental status. Treatment is ongoing but challenging. Standard protocols aren't fully effective. The CDC field team has arrived and is working with local health officials. They're conducting testing to identify the exact pathogen and determine transmission vectors. Approximately 80 people total from the facility are under medical observation, some showing mild symptoms, others asymptomatic but monitored as a precaution. The section of the industrial district remains evacuated. The perimeter may expand as the investigation continues. There have been scattered reports of similar symptoms in people without direct facility connection, but these are unconfirmed. Health officials are investigating. The Nutrivance product recall remains in effect. Do not consume Revitaflora products. Return them per recall instructions. The situation is serious but contained at this point. Authorities are responding appropriately. The public should remain calm and follow official guidance. A press briefing is scheduled for 1 p.m. We'll carry it live. That's your midday update. Let me take a brief pause, then we'll continue. The memo is from Nutrivance's Quality Control Director to senior management. It describes anomalies observed in samples from the production facility, specifically bacterial cultures showing unexpected growth patterns and morphological changes when exposed to temperature variations. I'm back at 12:14. While I was away from the microphone, Emily pulled up some concerning information. She found an internal memo from Nutrivance leaked to a business news site about an hour ago. The memo is dated 3 weeks ago, well before the recall. The Quality Control Director recommended halting production and conducting thorough safety reviews. According to the memo, senior management declined. They cited contract obligations and revenue targets. They instructed quality control to continue monitoring but to maintain production schedules. 3 weeks later, we have an outbreak. But more immediately, it helps explain what happened. The bacteria mutated. Quality control saw it happening. Management ignored the warnings. The mutated bacteria ended up in products, in a warehouse, exposed workers, and here we are. This is going to have legal implications. If the company knew about potential safety issues and continued production anyway, that's negligence at minimum, possibly criminal liability, depending on what prosecutors can prove. I'm angry reading this. People are critically ill. Families are terrified. The city is in crisis, and it could have been prevented if corporate executives had prioritized safety over profits. That's a common story, but it doesn't make it any less infuriating. It's 12:26. Let me read some of the social media posts that are circulating. I want to address misinformation directly. Emily's checking to see if Nutrivance has responded to the leaked memo. So far, no statement. Their corporate communications have gone dark since the situation escalated. Probably on advice of legal counsel. Anything they say now could be used against them. Claim, the outbreak is airborne and spreading rapidly through the city. Claim, the government is hiding the true number of deaths. Reality, there's no evidence this is airborne. All confirmed cases trace back to the facility or direct contact with facility workers. Standard infection control measures are in place. Reality, as far as we know, there have been no deaths yet. Patients are critically ill, but they're alive and being treated. If fatalities occur, they'll be reported. Claim, this is a biological weapon test gone wrong. Reality, this appears to be an industrial accident involving a commercial product. There's no indication of weapons development or intentional release. Reality, some patients are exhibiting aggressive behavior due to neurological effects. They're not zombies, they're sick people. Medical staff are managing the situation. Claim, infected people are attacking others and turning them into zombies. I can't stress enough how important it is to rely on credible information sources. Official health department statements, CDC guidance, established news organizations. Be skeptical of random social media posts, anonymous claims, and conspiracy theories. In a crisis, bad information is dangerous. It causes panic, leads to poor decisions, and diverts resources from actual response efforts. Let me take more calls. Line 2, go ahead. Emily's monitoring the city's emergency alert system. So far, no alerts have been sent to the general public. That's significant. If officials believed there was immediate widespread danger, they would use that system. The fact that they haven't suggests they're confident in current containment measures. Oswald, that's a reasonable concern. Has your daughter been experiencing any symptoms? He says no, she feels fine. But he wants to know if she should get tested or take preventive medication. This is Oswald. He's asking about his daughter. She's a college student who volunteers at a community center that serves meals to homeless individuals. One of the regular attendees at the center worked at the Nutrivance warehouse. Oswald is worried his daughter may have been exposed through contact with this person. If the person from the warehouse is known to be infected, contact tracers from the health department will likely reach out to the community center to identify anyone who had close contact. Your daughter should cooperate with that process if contacted. There isn't a standard test for this yet. The CDC is developing diagnostic criteria, but it's early. And as I mentioned earlier, there's no preventive medication to take. The best thing your daughter can do is monitor herself for symptoms. If she develops headache, tremors, fever, confusion, she should seek medical care immediately and mention the potential exposure. Oswald's asking if his daughter should avoid the community center for now. That's a personal decision. If she's concerned about exposure, staying away temporarily might give her peace of mind. But if she's not showing symptoms and hasn't been in direct contact with confirmed cases, she's probably at low risk. It's 12:41, 19 minutes until the press briefing. Let me see what else is developing. The stock market is reacting. Nutrivance shares have been halted from trading due to volatility. They were down over 40% before the halt. The company's market value has collapsed. Investors are fleeing. Other companies in the probiotic and health beverage sector are also seeing stock declines. Guilt by association. People are questioning the safety of the entire product category. But that's a secondary concern right now. The immediate priority is the health crisis. This will have economic ripple effects. Nutrivance employs thousands of people across the country. Suppliers, distributors, retailers, all connected to their business. A company collapse would impact many livelihoods. I'm seeing reports that the FDA has ordered all Nutrivance products pulled from shelves nationally, not just the Revitaflora line. This is an expansion of the recall. They're taking no chances with any product the company manufactures. Universities protecting their reputations. Understandable, but it feels like avoiding accountability. If university research provided the foundation for this technology, they bear some responsibility for how it was used, don't they? That's an ethical question without a clear answer. Regulatory agencies moving quickly. That's appropriate given the circumstances. Emily just handed me something. A statement from the university where some of the bacterial research was conducted. They're distancing themselves from Nutrivent. The statement says the university provided basic research on probiotic bacteria years ago, but Nutrivent took that research in directions the university scientists did not approve or participate in. They're emphasizing that the commercial product is solely Nutrivent's responsibility. It's 12:53, 7 minutes until the briefing. Let me prepare you for what we might hear. They'll probably announce expanded containment measures, possibly a wider evacuation zone, maybe quarantine recommendations for certain groups. I expect officials will provide updated case numbers. We were at 23 confirmed critical patients. That number has likely grown. The CDC field team will likely present preliminary findings. They may have identified the specific bacterial strain responsible, though full analysis takes time. There will be questions about community spread. That's the big concern. If this is moving beyond the facility workers and their immediate contacts, we're in a different phase. Officials will try to balance honesty about the severity with reassurance that the situation is being managed. That's a difficult balance in a crisis like this. They'll emphasize what the public should do, expect recommendations to stay home if possible, avoid large gatherings, maintain good hygiene, probably stopping short of a full lockdown, but moving in that direction if spread is confirmed. We'll see. The briefing is about to start. Here we go. The feed is live, same briefing room as before. More people at the table this time. I see Director Kirkland again, Dr. Vasquez, and several others in CDC jackets. There's also someone in a military uniform. That's confirmed critical cases are now at 41. That's nearly double from this morning. 83 people total are hospitalized with varying degrees of symptoms. 212 people are under medical observation. Director Kirkland is starting. He thanks everyone for returning. He says the situation has evolved significantly in the past 3 hours. 41 critical. The numbers are accelerating faster than hospital capacity can easily handle. Kirkland is introducing Colonel Harris from the National Guard. The Guard is being activated to assist with logistics and security. They'll help establish field medical facilities and maintain order as needed. Dr. Vasquez is taking over. She's explaining that they've identified the pathogen. It's a mutated strain of the Lactobacillus neurophilus bacteria from the Nutrivant product. The mutation has altered the bacteria's behavior. Instead of providing health benefits, it produces a neurotoxin that affects brain function. Order. That word is telling. Are they anticipating civil unrest or just being prepared? Dr. Vasquez is saying they're working on treatment protocols. Antibiotics can kill the bacteria, but delivering them to the brain is challenging. The blood-brain barrier that allowed the bacteria and also makes it hard to get medication to the brain damage. Permanent brain damage. That's a devastating prognosis for the patient. She's describing the mechanism. The bacteria cross the blood-brain barrier, which they were designed to do. Once in the brain, they reproduce rapidly and secrete compounds that overstimulate neural activity. This causes the seizures and agitation. In some cases, the bacterial presence is causing actual tissue damage to parts of the brain responsible for impulse control and higher reasoning. Some patients are showing improvement with aggressive antibiotic therapy. Others are not responding. The variation seems to depend on how long the bacteria have been in the system and how extensively they've colonized brain tissue. A reporter asks about mortality. Has anyone died? Dr. Vasquez hesitates. She says 3 patients have died in the past 2 hours, multiple organ failure secondary to seizure activity. The death toll is 3. Kirkland is speaking again. He's talking about containment. The challenge is that some infected individuals were asymptomatic for a period before symptoms manifested. During that time, they may have been in contact with others. Contact tracing is underway, but it's complex. 3 families just lost loved ones. 3 people who went to work got exposed to contaminated bacteria and died within hours or days. It's staggering. The room goes quiet. You can hear it in the feed. Self-quarantine. That's going to affect thousands of people. Businesses in that area, workers, delivery drivers, anyone who passed through. He's recommending that anyone who was in the industrial district over the weekend, even briefly, should self-quarantine at home for 72 hours. Monitor for symptoms. If you develop any concerning signs, call for medical assistance immediately. A reporter asks if this is a quarantine order or a recommendation. Kirkland says it's currently a strong recommendation. They're not legally enforcing it yet, but ask for voluntary compliance. If the situation worsens, mandatory quarantine may be implemented. Another reporter asks about transmission. How does this spread person to person? Dr. Vasquez explains that they're still studying transmission vectors. The bacteria are present in bodily fluids of infected individuals, saliva, blood, potentially sweat. Close contact with an infected person could transmit the bacteria. They're particularly concerned about bites or scratches from agitated patients, as these would directly introduce bacteria into a new host. Bites and scratches again. The aggressive behavior isn't just a symptom, it's a transmission mechanism. Patients who bite or scratch others are effectively spreading the infection. The CDC representative is speaking now. Dr. Elizabeth Okafor. She introduces herself. She's explaining that the CDC is treating this as a Class A biological threat. That's their highest level of concern. Resources are being mobilized nationally. Additional field teams are en route. They're setting up a command center in the city. This is starting to sound like an epidemic with unusual characteristics. Not airborne, thankfully, but close contact spread combined with symptom-induced aggression. That's a concerning combination. Class A threat. That puts this in the same category as anthrax, plague, botulism. The most dangerous biological agent. Kirkland is taking questions. Someone asks if schools should close. Dr. Okafor is recommending that the city implement enhanced surveillance. Hospitals should flag any patients with neurological symptoms for immediate testing. Rapid diagnostic protocols are being distributed. She's also recommending public health messaging about avoiding contact with infected individuals. This is delicate because they don't want to stigmatize the patients, but people need to understand the transmission risk. School closures would signal that this has moved beyond isolated outbreak to community epidemic. That's a threshold no one wants to cross. Another question, what about public transportation? Buses, trains, should people avoid them? He says they're considering it. Right now schools are in session, but they're monitoring the situation closely. If community spread is confirmed beyond current containment zones, schools will close. Parents should be prepared for that possibility. But she adds that if you see someone exhibiting unusual behavior, extreme agitation, seizure activity, you should move away and alert authorities. Don't try to help them yourself unless you're trained and protected. The briefing is winding down. Kirkland is summarizing. Stay informed through official channels. Follow health department guidance. Avoid unnecessary travel. Self-quarantine if you are in the affected area. Seek medical care if you develop symptoms. Remain calm but vigilant. Dr. Vasquez says public transit is safe unless you're in close contact with a visibly symptomatic person. The bacteria don't spread through casual proximity in enclosed spaces like a cold virus would. You need direct contact with bodily fluid. The feed cuts. They're done. We're back in the studio. It's 1:34 p.m. That briefing was sobering. 41 critical patients. 3 deaths. Hundreds under observation. The National Guard activated. Class A biological threat designation. This is now officially an epidemic. Not a pandemic yet. It's contained to our city, but the scale and severity meet epidemic criteria. Let me talk practically. If you're being asked to self-quarantine, that means staying home. Don't go to work, don't run errands, don't have visitors. You can go outside in your own yard if you have one, but avoid public space. Stock up on essentials if you haven't already. Food, medication, supplies for 72 hours at minimum. I need to stay focused. You're counting on me to provide information, to be a steady voice. I'll do that. Emily's looking shaken. I asked if she's okay. She nods, but I can see the fear in her eyes. We've been covering this story all day, maintaining professional detachment, but the reality is hitting. People are dying. This is real. If you live with others, maintain distance as much as possible within your home. Separate bathrooms if available. Don't share dishes or utensils. Wash hands frequently. Monitor each person for symptoms separately. If you develop symptoms during quarantine, don't just show up at a hospital. Call ahead. They need to prepare for your arrival. Wear a mask if you have one. Cover your mouth when coughing. These are basic infection control practices. For those of you not under quarantine, life can continue, but with caution. Avoid crowded places if possible. Practice good hygiene. Stay in. Schools are watching this closely. If they close, parents need child care plans. Many people can't work from home or can't work at all if they're watching children. This has cascading effect. It's 1:49. I'm seeing news that several major employers in the city are sending workers home. Tech companies, financial firms, any business that can operate remotely is doing so. Downtown is emptying out. Businesses are going to start making decisions about operations. Some will close voluntarily, others will remain open. That's going to create economic strain, but health has to come first. The highways are getting congested, people leaving work early, some probably leaving the city despite recommendations not to. Panic, drive. She's pulling it up. The interstate is jammed. Outbound lanes are parking lots. Inbound is clear. Everyone's trying to leave. Emily, can you check highway cameras? Let's see how bad traffic is. This is exactly what officials were hoping to avoid. Mass exodus could spread the infection. People who are in early stages, not yet symptomatic, getting in cars and driving to other cities, other states, they'll bring the bacteria with them. If you're in your car right now trying to leave the city, please reconsider. If you've been exposed, you could be spreading this to your destination. If you haven't been exposed, you're safe where you are. Fleeing doesn't help. There's no way to stop it short of roadblocks, which would cause its own problems. All we can do is urge people to think about the consequences. It's 2:02. Let me take calls. Maybe hearing from each other will help. I know fear is powerful. The instinct to run is natural. But running might be the worst thing you can do. First caller, Emily, says this is Bridget. She's a teacher. Her school is still in session, but she's terrified. Kids are in close contact all day, sharing desks, playground equipment, everything. If one infected child is at school, it could spread quickly. If you're genuinely uncomfortable, you could take a personal day. But wholesale panic among teachers would force school closures through staffing shortages, which might be premature. Talk to your principal. Express your concerns. Ask what precautions are being taken. Many schools are increasing cleaning protocols, watching for symptoms, sending sick kids home immediately. Bridget, I understand your fear. The fact that schools haven't closed yet means officials believe the risk is still low in the general population. But I also understand the vulnerability you feel being around so many people every day. It's a difficult situation without perfect answers. This is Marius. He's asking about his mother. She's in a nursing home. Elderly, vulnerable. He's worried that if the bacteria get into a care facility, it could devastate the residents. Next caller, line 3. Call the facility and ask what measures they're taking. If you're not satisfied with their response, escalate to the facility administration or state health department. Your mother's safety is important. Advocate for her. Marius, that's a valid concern. Nursing homes and assisted living facilities should be implementing strict protocols, limiting visitors, screening staff, isolating any resident who shows symptoms. In the meantime, Yasmin, treat it as you would any potential infectious disease. Wash your hands after handling pets. Don't let them lick your face. If you're under quarantine, keep your pets inside with you. Another caller. This is Yasmin. She's asking about pets. Can animals carry or spread the bacteria? That's a question I don't have a definitive answer to. The bacteria are specifically engineered to interact with human biology. Whether they can infect animals, I don't know. Emily, can you research that? I'll update when we know more. It's 2:19. The pace of information is overwhelming. New developments every few minutes. I'm going to try to create some structure. Let me give you a status update every hour on the hour. In between, I'll take calls, report breaking news, provide analysis. But at the top of each hour, we'll step back and synthesize everything we know at that moment. Commercials feel inappropriate right now. We're not going to break for ads. This is continuous news coverage for the duration of the emergency. Emily's coffee is keeping me going. I've been on air for over 8 hours. My voice is holding up. Adrenaline helps. Sound good? Okay, let me talk about what happens if this becomes a full epidemic. If containment fails and we see widespread community transmission. Cities have pandemic preparedness plans. They were updated after COVID-19. These plans include measures like school and business closures, restrictions on public gathering, possible curfews, mandatory quarantines for exposed individuals, checkpoints at city borders to screen travelers, requisition of private facilities for medical use, suspension of non-essential government services. If we reach that point, the city would coordinate with state and federal authorities. The National Guard would have a larger role. Supply chains would be managed centrally to prevent shortages. Communication would be critical to prevent panic. These are drastic steps. They're taken when there's no other option. We're not there yet, but it's possible. I don't say this to scare you. I say it so you understand there are plans. We're not just improvising. Systems exist to handle exactly this type of crisis. It's 2:33. I'm watching the news feeds. Reporters are camped outside hospitals, the distribution facility, City Hall. Everyone's trying to get the story. Some reporters are being reckless. I'm watching footage of a crew trying to interview family members outside a hospital. These people are distraught. They just learned a loved one is critically ill or dead, and a camera is shoved in their faces asking how they feel. Whether those systems are adequate for a bacterial outbreak with these specific characteristics, we'll find out. Emily's showing me something, a video posted to social media. Someone filmed from their apartment window. It shows an ambulance at a nearby building. Paramedics in full protective gear are loading someone onto a stretcher. The person is restrained, thrashing violently. You can hear screaming. It's exploitative. I understand the public wants information, but there's a line. We're trying to be responsible here. Report facts, provide context, help people make informed decisions, not chase sensational angles or profit from tragedy. The video's going viral. Hundreds of thousands of views already. Comments are filled with speculation and fear. This is one patient, in one moment. It doesn't represent the full scope of the situation. But it's visceral, frightening. It makes it real in a way statistics don't. Videos like this will spread faster than official information. That's the world we live in. Visual content, emotional content, it dominates. We can't compete with that. We can only try to provide the context that a 30-second clip doesn't give. Daniel, I've been listening all day. Thank you for your measured coverage. I want to address something I'm hearing in the public discourse. People are starting to dehumanize the victims, calling them infected, zombies, threats. This language is dangerous. These are human beings suffering from a disease. They deserve compassion and medical care, not fear and ostracism. We must maintain our humanity even as we protect our health. Let me read an email. This is from someone named Callum. He's a philosophy professor. He writes, Callum, you're absolutely right. Thank you for that perspective. The patients are victims. They didn't choose to get sick. Many of them were just doing their jobs when they were exposed. They're people with families, lives, hopes. The bacteria are attacking their brains, making them behave in ways they wouldn't normally. We can take precautions without demonizing them. The pharmaceutical industry is being contacted. Can they ramp up production of needed medications? How quickly? These conversations are happening at the highest levels of government and industry. It's 2:51, 9 minutes until my hourly update. Let me gather the latest information. Emily's compiling data. Case numbers are still rising. The death toll is now at 7. Hospitals are stretched. Supply chains for medical equipment are being strained. Antibiotics effective against the bacteria are in limited supply. The immediate crisis is managing the cases we have and preventing new ones. Treatment development is the longer-term solution. Research labs are studying the bacteria. Can they develop a targeted treatment? A vaccine? That takes time, weeks or months, not hours. But the work is starting. 3 o'clock is almost here. Let me take a breath, organize my thoughts, and give you a comprehensive update. The outbreak originated at the Nutrivents Corporation distribution facility on Industrial Parkway. Workers were exposed to contaminated probiotic beverages containing mutated bacteria. The bacteria produce neurotoxins that cause severe neurological symptoms. Current numbers, 41 patients in critical condition, 83 hospitalized with varying symptoms, 212 under medical observation. 7 deaths confirmed. It's 3 p.m. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. I've been with you for 9 hours providing continuous coverage of the bacterial outbreak in our city. Here's what we know at this hour. Transmission occurs through close contact with bodily fluids of infected individuals. The bacteria are present in saliva, blood, and possibly other fluids. Bites or scratches from symptomatic patients are particularly high risk. The bacteria are identified as a mutated strain of Lactobacillus neurophilus, a genetically modified organism originally developed for health benefits, but which mutated due to temperature control failures during storage. The CDC has classified this as a Class A biological threat. National Guard has been activated. A command center is operational. Resources are being mobilized. Authorities recommend self-quarantine for anyone in the industrial district over the weekend. Schools remain open, but closures are being considered. Public transportation is safe with normal precautions. Avoid close contact with symptomatic individuals. The Nutrivents product recall includes all company products. Do not consume. Return per recall instruction. Leaked documents suggest the company knew about quality control issues weeks ago, but continued production. Traffic is heavily congested as people leave the city against official recommendation. That's your 3 o'clock update. Stay with us for continuing coverage. Next press briefing is scheduled for 5 p.m. The hospital is requesting assistance from neighboring states, asking for medical personnel, equipment, supplies. The Regional Healthcare Compact is being activated. Help is coming, but it takes time to mobilize. Code Black means they're making triage decisions. Who gets treatment, who has to wait, who might not get treatment at all if resources run out. It's a nightmare scenario for medical professionals. Emily just put a note in front of me. The University Medical Center, one of our largest hospitals, has declared a code black. That's the highest level emergency status. It means they're completely overwhelmed and operating in crisis mode. In the meantime, people are suffering. Patients in hallways because rooms are full. Staff working double shifts. Supplies running low. I can't imagine the stress those healthcare workers are under. Dealing with a novel pathogen. Watching patients deteriorate despite their best efforts. Putting themselves at risk of exposure. They're heroes. It's 317. Let me address a question that's come up repeatedly. Should you arm yourself for protection? This is not helpful. The patients are in hospitals, restrained and under care. They're not roaming the streets. You don't need a gun to protect yourself from sick people. Gun stores are reportedly seeing increased business. People are buying firearms, claiming they need protection from infected people. More guns in circulation during a crisis increases the risk of accidents, confrontations, violence. It doesn't make anyone safer. Another topic, price gouging. We're getting reports of stores raising prices on essentials, water, food, cleaning supplies, medical masks. This is illegal and unethical. If you're concerned about security, focus on locking doors, staying with others, having a phone charged to call for help. Reasonable precaution. Firearms are not the answer to a medical outbreak. It's 3:29. I want to read something. A statement from the mayor just released. The community needs to come together, not exploit each other. If you encounter price gouging, document it, take photos of price tags, keep receipts. Report it to the state attorney general's office. There are laws against this behavior during emergencies. I hope the mayor is right. I hope we do overcome this. It's a good statement, acknowledging the severity while expressing confidence in our collective ability to handle it. That's what leadership should sound like in a crisis. Our city faces an unprecedented challenge. We have mobilized every resource to protect public health and safety. I am grateful for the healthcare workers, first responders, and public servants working tirelessly to manage this crisis. To our residents, I ask for your patience and cooperation. Follow the guidance of health officials. Support your neighbors. We will get through this together. This city has overcome challenges before. We will overcome this one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Security responded. The patient injured 2 people before being subdued. Both injured individuals are being treated for bites and scratches. They'll need to be monitored for infection. Emily's monitoring police scanner again. There's been an incident at one of the hospitals. A patient broke containment. Somehow got out of restraints, out of the isolation room into a hallway. This is exactly the scenario health officials were worried about. An aggressive patient in contact with uninfected people in a chaotic environment. The hospital will review protocols, figure out how this happened, prevent recurrence. Hospitals are not designed as maximum security facilities. They're designed to heal. Adapting them to handle patients who might be dangerous requires improvisation and resources they don't normally have. But it highlights the challenge. These patients are strong, agitated, unpredictable. Containing them safely is difficult. It's 3:44. Let me take more calls. Line 1, this is Sifron. She's a dialysis patient. She has to go to a clinic 3 times a week for treatment. She's terrified of going to a medical facility with the outbreak happening. But if she misses dialysis, she could die. Saffron, I understand your fear. Dialysis clinics are different from hospitals treating outbreak patients. They're separate facilities with their own protocols. The risk should be minimal. Call your clinic, ask what precautions they're taking. I'm confident they'll reassure you. Medical facilities are being extra careful right now. Your treatment is life-sustaining. Don't skip it out of fear. Take reasonable precautions, wear a mask, wash your hands, but go. Next caller, line 4. This is Grover. He works in IT. His company is trying to figure out if they should send everyone home. He's asking for my thoughts. Ultimately, it's a business decision balancing safety and operational needs. But erring on the side of caution seems wise. If remote work isn't feasible, enhanced cleaning, spacing out workstations, screening employees for symptoms, those are all good measures. Grover, if your work can be done remotely, that's the safer option right now. It reduces density in buildings, limits potential exposure. Many companies are making that call. Petra, there's no evidence that the bacteria spread through food handling. As long as delivery drivers and restaurant staff aren't symptomatic, the risk is very low. Another caller. Line 2 is Petra. She's asking about food delivery. Is it safe to order takeout or should she avoid it? If you want extra precaution, you could transfer food to your own dishes and dispose of the containers. Wash your hands after handling, but I don't think avoiding food delivery is necessary. It's 4:02, less than an hour until the next press briefing. I'm curious what new information officials will provide. The situation has continued to evolve rapidly. I'm also wondering about the tone. Will they maintain the measured approach from earlier briefings, or will there be increased urgency? The latter would suggest things are deteriorating faster than containment efforts can manage. Supporting local businesses during this crisis helps the community economy. If you're comfortable, continue ordering. Emily's found an interesting article. A medical ethicist writing about triage decisions during the outbreak. The question of who gets treatment when resources are limited. Standard triage prioritizes those most likely to survive with treatment. But with a disease like this, where some patients are violently agitated and pose risk to staff, there's a temptation to prioritize calmer patients. That would be unethical. Treating based on convenience rather than medical need. The article argues that regardless of behavior, all patients deserve equal access to care. Aggressive patients aren't choosing to be that way. The disease is causing it. It's 4:18. I'm seeing reports of a disturbance at one of the quarantine sites, a hotel that's been requisitioned to house people under observation. Some individuals are refusing to stay, trying to leave. Security is attempting to keep them inside. Forced quarantine is legally complex. In a public health emergency, authorities have broad powers, but people still have rights. The balance between individual liberty and collective safety is always contentious. It's a reminder that medical ethics don't pause during emergencies. We have to maintain our principles even when it's difficult. If someone isn't symptomatic, forcing them to stay somewhere against their will feels authoritarian. But if they might be incubating the disease, letting them leave could spread it. I don't envy the people making these decisions. It's 431. A viewer email asks if I'm scared. Am I worried about my own safety? Honestly, yes. I'm human. The idea of a bacterial infection that causes brain damage and death is terrifying. The thought of becoming one of those patients, losing control of my mind and body, it's horrifying. I'm taking precautions. Emily and I are maintaining distance in the studio. We're sanitizing surfaces. We're monitoring ourselves for symptoms, but we're also continuing to work because this matters. But fear doesn't help. Action helps. Doing my job, providing information, helping people stay safe. That gives me purpose. It channels the fear into something productive. She's telling me that the city has established a hotline for people with questions or concerns. The number is 555. Health-trained operators are available to provide information, direct people to resources, and document symptoms for contact tracing. It's 4:46. 14 minutes until the briefing. Let me check in with Emily. Any new developments? If everyone gave in to fear and stopped functioning, society would collapse. We have to keep going. This is legally questionable but understandable. Small towns don't have the medical infrastructure to handle even a few cases. They're trying to protect themselves. Emily's also seeing reports that some rural areas around the city are setting up checkpoints on roads. They're trying to screen people coming from the city, keep the outbreak from spreading to their communities. If you're uncertain about anything, call that number. Don't tie up 911 unless you have a genuine emergency. It's 4:53, 7 minutes. Let me prepare for the briefing. I expect we'll hear updated case numbers. Probably well over 100 hospitalized by now. The death toll may have risen. I hope it hasn't, but the trajectory suggests it will. It creates a patchwork of responses, though. No coordination. That can cause problems. They may announce school closures. That seems increasingly inevitable. Possible expansion of quarantine zones. More businesses closing, stricter movement restrictions. I'm also wondering if they'll address the hospital security incident, reassure the public that containment is being strengthened, and perhaps information about treatment progress. Are any patients improving? That would be hopeful. 5 o'clock, the feed is live, same room, same officials, plus a few new faces. There's a military officer I don't recognize, high rank based on insignia. We'll see. The briefing is about to start. Updated case numbers: 78 critical patients, 142 hospitalized, 394 under observation, 14 deaths. Director Kirkland starts. He thanks everyone again. His face looks more drawn than this morning. The stress is showing. 14. The death toll doubled. Oh God. Dr. Vasquez is speaking. She's describing efforts to manufacture more of the effective antibiotics. Pharmaceutical companies are cooperating, but ramping up production takes time. They're also exploring experimental treatments, but those require approval processes even in emergencies. Kirkland is explaining that the rate of deterioration for critical patients is faster than anticipated. Despite aggressive treatment, many are progressing to multi-organ failure. The bacteria are resistant to most standard antibiotics. They've identified a few drugs that show promise, but supply is limited. She's talking about transmission. They've confirmed secondary cases. people who had no direct contact with the facility but were exposed by infected individuals. This confirms human-to-human spread, community transmission, the thing we feared. It's happening. The military officer is being introduced, General Patricia Holloway, Northern Command. She's explaining that federal resources are being deployed. Military medical units, logistics support, security assistance. Dr. Vasquez is saying the secondary cases seem to have milder symptoms, suggesting the bacteria may weaken with each transmission. That's encouraging, but it's also early. They're not certain. General Holloway is describing protocols. Anyone exhibiting symptoms will be transported to the secure facility. Civilian hospitals will continue treating non-outbreak cases. This separation will protect general population. She's talking about establishing secure treatment facilities separate from civilian hospitals. Military has experience with containment, with handling dangerous pathogens. They're setting up a facility at the old airbase outside the city. This is federal takeover of crisis response. The situation has exceeded local and state capacity. Kirkland says the city has not authorized checkpoints. However, they understand neighboring communities' concerns. They're working to coordinate a unified approach. Unauthorized checkpoints should cease. Official screening locations will be established at major transit roads. A reporter asks if this is martial law. General Holloway is careful. She says it's not martial law. Civilian government remains in control. Military is providing support, not taking over. But she acknowledges that certain security measures may feel restrictive. They're necessary for public safety. Another reporter asks about the checkpoints being set up around the city. Are those official? School closures, parents scrambling to figure out childcare, another layer of disruption. So they're essentially implementing checkpoints, but calling them screening locations. Semantics. Someone asks about schools. Kirkland announces that all schools in the metro area will close effective tomorrow. The decision was difficult but necessary. Children will transition to remote learning where possible. She's pleading with people not to flee the city. That will spread the outbreak. The best chance of containment is if people stay put, cooperate with health officials, follow guidelines. The briefing is ending. Kirkland is giving the summary. Stay home if possible. Avoid contact with others. Monitor for symptoms. Call the hotline with concerns. Trust the process. Dr. Vasquez is addressing treatment. She's asking for calm. She knows people are scared. She knows the numbers are alarming. But the medical community is working non-stop. Progress is being made. Treatments are improving. This has escalated beyond anything I imagined this morning when we started coverage. 16 hours ago, this was a product recall. Now it's a public health catastrophe with military response. We're back at 5:33. That briefing was grim. 14 deaths. Confirmed community spread. Federal military involvement. School closures. The feed cuts. Emily looks like she might cry. I asked if she needs a break. She shakes her head. She wants to stay. We're in this together. I need to stay strong for everyone listening. You need information, reassurance, a voice that isn't panicking. I'll be that voice. Let me give you practical advice based on the new information. Schools are closed. If you have children, arrange supervision. Work from home if possible so you can watch them. If you must work outside the home, organize with neighbors or family. Small groups are safer than large daycares. If you haven't already, stock up on essentials for at least 2 weeks. Food, water, medications, hygiene products. Not hoarding, just preparing. If everyone buys a reasonable amount, there's enough for everyone. Avoid going out unless necessary. Each contact with others is a potential exposure risk. It's 5:49. I'm monitoring social media. The reaction to the briefing is intense. Fear, anger, confusion. People demanding answers. Demanding solutions. These precautions work. They reduce transmission. If everyone does them, we can slow the spread. If you must go out, maintain distance from others. 6 feet minimum. Wear a mask if you have one. Don't touch surfaces unnecessarily. Wash hands thoroughly when you return home. I understand the frustration. We want this fixed now. We want someone to make it stop. But biology doesn't work on our timeline. The bacteria don't care about our urgency. Some posts are blaming the government, claiming they should have prevented this, should have caught it earlier. There may be validity to that. Regulatory oversight of Nutravance was clearly inadequate. But blame doesn't help the people sick right now. All we can do is manage as best we can while researchers work on better treatments. Other posts are blaming the company. That anger is more justified. If the leaked memos are accurate, Nutravance executives prioritized profit over safety. People died because of corporate negligence. That demands accountability. But again, accountability comes later. Now, we survive. It's 6:04. Let me take more calls. Ezra, based on what was said, the facility is for treatment. If someone is symptomatic and needs medical care, they'll be transported there. I don't think it's forced in the sense of dragging asymptomatic people away, but if you're sick and infectious, yes, you'll be isolated for everyone's safety. That's standard epidemic response. Isolation prevents spread. It's not sinister, it's public health. Line 1 is Ezra. He's asking about the military facility General Holloway mentioned. Will infected people be forcibly taken there? Hadley, talk to your management. If the situation is dangerous, employees' safety comes first. But grocery stores are essential. People need food. This is Hadley. She works at a grocery store. They're being overwhelmed by panic buyers. Shelves are empty. People are fighting over items. She's asking if the store should close. Next caller, line 3. Maybe the store could implement limits. 1 family member per household, quantity limits on items. Security to manage crowds. This balances providing service with maintaining order. Thank you for working through this. Grocery workers are essential workers right now. Another caller. Line 2 is Nolan. He's diabetic. He's worried about getting his insulin with pharmacies potentially closing or running out of supplies. If you run into issues, call the health hotline. They can direct you to resources. Nolan, contact your pharmacy now. Explain your situation. See if you can get an emergency refill to have extra on hand. Most pharmacies and insurance companies are being flexible during the crisis. Managing chronic conditions during an outbreak adds another layer of stress. I'm sorry you're dealing with that. Be right back. It's 6:27. I've been on air for over 12 hours. I need to eat something. Emily's going to manage for a few minutes while I grab the sandwich she ordered earlier. I'm back at 6:35. Took me 8 minutes. I inhaled the sandwich. Not the healthiest eating, but calories are calories. Emily's updated me. While I was gone, there were 2 more deaths reported. The death toll is now 16 people. 16 families grieving, 16 lives cut short by bacteria that were supposed to make people healthier. The cruelty of it. I'm also hearing that looting has begun in some areas. Stores that closed are being broken into. This always happens in a crisis. Social order phrase when people are scared and desperate. Police are responding, but they're stretched thin. They're also dealing with quarantine enforcement, traffic management, security around medical facilities. There aren't enough officers to be everywhere. The National Guard will help with security. That's part of their role. But it takes time to deploy them effectively. I'm asking people, please don't contribute to the chaos. Looting helps no one. It creates more victims. Store owners are suffering enough without their businesses being destroyed. At 6:51, the sun is setting. I can see it through the studio windows. The sky is orange and pink. Beautiful. It seems wrong that the sky can be beautiful on a day like this. If you need something and can't afford it, reach out to community organizations, churches, charities, mutual aid groups. People want to help. There are better ways than theft. There's something almost comforting in that. The world continues. Whatever we're going through, the planet keeps turning. Life persists. Nature doesn't care about human crises. The sun sets regardless. Maybe that's morbid. Or maybe it's perspective. Other cities are bracing for cases. State health departments across the region are on alert. They're setting up testing, preparing hospitals, implementing their own containment plans. They're carrying the bacteria with them, potentially, spreading it to wherever they're going. It's 7/8, traffic update. The highways are still jammed with people leaving. The exodus started this afternoon and hasn't stopped. I estimate tens of thousands have left the city. Could be coincidence. People get sick for lots of reasons, but the pattern is concerning. This could go regional, then national, then I don't want to think about it. Emily's showing me a map. It tracks social media posts mentioning symptoms similar to the outbreak. There are clusters appearing in neighboring states. Not confirmed cases, just people posting about seizures, agitation, neurological issues. If this becomes a nationwide outbreak, the federal response will scale up. CDC will deploy teams everywhere. The military will be involved massively. We could see national emergency declarations. It's 7:24. Let me give you an update on local conditions. I hope it doesn't come to that. The suburbs are similar. People hunkered down, a few still outside, walking dogs, getting fresh air, but fewer than normal. Residential neighborhoods are different. People are home, lights in windows. You can see families through curtains, having dinner, watching TV, trying to maintain normalcy in their own spaces. Downtown is largely empty. Businesses closed. Streets quiet except for emergency vehicles. It's eerie. A city this size shouldn't be this quiet on a Monday evening. There's a curfew being discussed. Not implemented yet, but under consideration. If looting continues or if public safety becomes more threatened, a curfew would be the next step. A curfew would mean no one on the streets after a certain time without valid reason. Enforceable by police. Violations could result in arrest. We're not there yet, but it's on the table. Neighbors checking on elderly residents, people sharing supplies, volunteers organizing to deliver food to those who can't leave their homes, online groups coordinating support, virtual communities providing emotional assistance, information sharing, just human connection when physical connection is risky. It's 7:41. I want to talk about community resilience. In every crisis, there are stories of people helping each other. I'm seeing some of that. The outbreak is trying to isolate us, to break us apart. We have to resist that. Carefully, safely, but resist it. This is how we survive. Not just physically, but psychologically. Maintaining bonds. Caring for each other. Emily's found a live stream. A local musician is performing from their living room, streaming it free for anyone to watch. Hundreds of people are tuned in. Comments are flowing. People thanking the musician, sharing how the music is helping them cope. It's 7:58. Coming up on 8 p.m., I've been here for 14 hours. I'm going to do another hourly update. Then we'll see where we're at. Art matters. Beauty matters. Even in darkness, especially in darkness, we need these things. 2 minutes. Current status, 78 critical patients, 142 hospitalized, 394 under observation, 16 confirmed deaths. It's 8 p.m. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. I've been with you for 14 hours covering the bacterial outbreak that began as a product recall this morning and has become a public health emergency by evening. The bacteria are identified as mutated Lactobacillus neurophilus from Nutrivance Corporation's probiotic beverage. Human-to-human transmission is confirmed. Secondary cases are appearing in the community. Schools are closed effective tomorrow. Many businesses have closed voluntarily. A significant number of residents have evacuated the city against official recommendations. Federal resources have been deployed. Military medical facilities are being established. National Guard is activated and deploying throughout the city. Authorities urge people to shelter in place, avoid contact with others, and monitor for symptoms. The health hotline number is 5. Treatment protocols are improving, but antibiotics are in limited supply. Research continues on more effective therapies. That's your 8 p.m. update. We continue with live coverage. Emily's handing me something. A statement from the governor. It was just released. The statement acknowledges that cases have been reported in 3 other cities within the state, all connected to people who traveled from our city. This confirms what we feared. The evacuation is spreading the outbreak. The governor is declaring a state of emergency for the entire state, not just our city. This unlocks additional resources, allows for expedited regulatory processes, gives authorities broader powers to manage the crisis. The tone of the statement is grave. The governor calls this the most serious public health threat our state has faced in modern times. That's not hyperbole. It's accurate. The governor is implementing a travel advisory. People are urged not to travel between cities unless absolutely necessary. Screening checkpoints will be established at major highways. Anyone showing symptoms will be quarantined immediately. It's 8:17. I need to address something that's come up repeatedly in calls and messages. People are asking about their rights. Can the government force them to quarantine? Can they be taken to facilities against their will? What happens if they refuse? The legal framework for public health emergencies gives authorities significant power. During an epidemic, individual rights can be restricted to protect the collective. Forced quarantine is legal under certain circumstances. Mandatory treatment can be ordered. Property can be requisitioned for public use. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice. But historically, courts have upheld public health measures during epidemics. Individual liberty has limits when your actions endanger others. These powers exist in the law. They're rarely used because most people cooperate voluntarily. But if someone is infected and refusing to isolate, they can be compelled. If you're asked to quarantine, please comply. It's not oppression. It's protecting your neighbors, your community, your family. It's 8:33. Emily's monitoring police frequencies. There's been another incident. A patient at one of the hospitals became violent, injured 3 staff members before being subdued. One of the injured is in surgery. That said, authorities are trying to maintain voluntary compliance. Force is a last resort. Most people want to do the right thing. They just need clear guidance. Hospital staff are in danger every time they treat these patients. They're wearing protective equipment, following protocols, but the aggressive behavior makes care extremely hazardous. I hope we remember that when this is over. I hope we honor them appropriately. We're asking healthcare workers to put themselves at risk. Some of them will get infected. Some might die. They're doing it anyway because that's what they signed up for. That's heroism. Let me take more calls. Line 4, go ahead. Sienna, I don't have specific data on that. The bacteria affect the nervous system, which could potentially impact a developing fetus. Pregnant women are often more vulnerable to infections in general. Emily relays, this is Sienna. She's asking about pregnant women. Is the infection more dangerous for them? If you're pregnant, take extra precautions. Stay home. Avoid all contact with potentially infected individuals. Contact your obstetrician and ask for their guidance. If you develop any symptoms, seek medical attention immediately and make sure they know you're pregnant. Next caller, line 1. If you continue working, take every precaution. Minimize contact with people at loading docks. Wear protective gear. Sanitize your cab regularly. Monitor yourself constantly for symptoms. This is Vaughn. He's a long-haul truck driver. He delivers goods between states. He's asking if he should stop working. Vaughn, trucking is essential. We need supply chains functioning, but you're also at risk traveling between cities, potentially carrying the bacteria with you or contracting it elsewhere. It's a tough position. The economy needs truckers, but your life matters too. Make the decision that feels right for you. Another caller, line 3. If you start feeling unwell on the road, pull over immediately. Don't continue driving. Call for medical help. Delphine, I'm so sorry for your loss. Losing a loved one is hard enough without complications. This is Delphine. She's asking about funerals. Her father died yesterday, unrelated to the outbreak. The funeral home is saying they may not be able to hold services due to restrictions on gatherings. Gathering restrictions during an epidemic makes sense from a public health standpoint. Funerals bring people together in close quarters, often with physical contact, hugging, sharing food. These are transmission opportunities. Talk to the funeral home about options. They're dealing with this across the board and trying to accommodate families. Many funeral homes are offering alternatives. Small graveside services with immediate family only. Video streaming for others to participate remotely, postponing larger memorials until the crisis passes. It's not the same as a traditional funeral. I know that's painful. But it allows you to say goodbye while protecting others. Psychological impact. Survivors will have trauma. Healthcare workers will have PTSD. The community will have collective grief and anxiety. Economic impact. Businesses that closed won't all reopen. People who evacuated may not return. Property values will drop. The city's reputation will be damaged. It's 8:59. I've been thinking about the long-term implications. Even if we contain the outbreak, even if treatment improves and people stop dying, the aftermath will last for years. This event will define our city for a generation. People will refer to before the outbreak and after the outbreak. It's a dividing line. Legal impact. Lawsuits against Nutrivents will be massive. Criminal investigations, regulatory reforms, insurance battles, social impact. Trust in institutions will be affected. Some people will be more cautious about biotechnology, about corporate assurances, about government oversight. Others will become conspiracy theorists, believing the official narrative is covering something up. We're living through history right now that's both terrifying and strangely profound. Instead, we're here, tracking a bacterial outbreak, watching the death toll rise, trying to help people navigate a nightmare. It's 9:16. The night is settling in. It's strange broadcasting in the dark. During normal shows, I'd be home by now. Emily, too. We'd be with our families, eating dinner, watching television, living normal lives. But for now, we continue. I wonder how long we can sustain this. I'm running on adrenaline and coffee. At some point, exhaustion will catch up. We'll need to bring in relief staff, but everyone's needed somewhere. Finding replacements won't be easy. Emily just showed me something beautiful. People are putting candles in their windows. Throughout the city, windows are glowing with candlelight. It started as one person's post on social media, a suggestion to show solidarity, to demonstrate that we're all in this together even while isolated. It's 9:33. Let me check in with the hospitals. Emily's been calling them for update. It's spreading. Neighborhood by neighborhood, windows are lighting up. Simple gestures matter. They remind us we're not alone. Most are still in code black status. Overwhelmed, but they're managing. The military medical facility is now operational and accepting transfers. That's relieving pressure on civilian hospitals. Other patients continue to deteriorate. The bacteria are resistant to most treatments. Doctors are trying combinations of drugs, experimental protocols. Some work, some don't. Some patients are stabilizing. not recovering fully, but the acute crisis phase is passing for them. They're sedated, on ventilators, but alive. That's progress. It's a battle being fought patient by patient, hour by hour. Or maybe I'm being optimistic. The death toll stands at 16. That number hasn't changed in the last hour. I'm cautiously hopeful it might stabilize. Maybe we're learning how to treat this. Maybe the worst is behind us. I'm not going to tell you whether to pray or not. That's personal. But I will say this. In crisis, people find comfort in different ways. For some, that's prayer. For others, it's meditation, or family, or music, or work. It's 9:51. A viewer email asks what I think about prayer. Should people pray? Whatever gives you strength, do that. Whatever helps you cope, lean into it. It's 10:08. Coming up on my next hourly update, let me gather information. If prayer helps you, pray. If helping others helps you, help. If information helps you, stay informed. There's no wrong way to deal with this as long as you're not hurting yourself or others. Emily's compiling data. The case numbers haven't been officially updated since the 5 p.m. briefing. Unofficially, we're hearing the total hospitalized is over 200 now. The death toll may have risen to 19 or 20, but that's unconfirmed. The military facility has received 60 patients. They're set up for containment and intensive care. Security is tight. Only authorized medical personnel allowed. Supply chains for antibiotics remain strained. The pharmaceutical companies are working on it, but production takes time. There's discussion of importing supplies from other countries. That's encouraging. We're not alone in this. It's 10:22. Traffic has died down. The evacuation rush is over. Either people got out or decided to stay. The highways are nearly empty now. Canada and Mexico have both offered assistance. Medical supplies, personnel, whatever we need. The international community is watching and wants to help. The city feels like a ghost town. 3 million people live here, but it's silent. No nightlife, no restaurants bustling, no entertainment. Just people in their homes, waiting. Emily's playing music quietly in the background. Something classical. It helps. The silence was oppressive. This is what containment looks like. It's effective but eerie. It's 10:44. Let me talk about something practical. How to maintain mental health during a crisis like this. First, limit your media consumption. Yes, stay informed, but don't obsess. Constant news will overwhelm you. Check in periodically, then step away. Second, maintain routines. Even if you're home, keep a schedule. Wake up at a regular time. Eat meals on schedule. Go to bed at your normal time. Structure helps. Fourth, take care of your body. Eat well, sleep, exercise if you can, even if it's just walking around your house. Physical health supports mental health. Third, stay connected. Call friends and family. Video chat, text. Human connection is vital even if it can't be physical. Fifth, do things you enjoy. Read, watch movies, play games, cook, whatever brings you pleasure. Joy is important. Six, ask for help if you need it. Mental health crisis lines are available. Therapists are offering remote sessions. Don't suffer alone. This situation is traumatic. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to need support. It's 11:04. I've been here for 17 hours. I'm going to continue through midnight. Then we'll assess. Emily's holding up. She's tired. I can see it. But determined. She's been incredible today. I couldn't do this without her. Let me take more calls. Line 2, go ahead. Emily says, this is Fletcher. He's asking about pets again. His dog has been acting strangely aggressive and agitated. He's worried the dog somehow got infected. Fletcher, as far as we know, this bacteria only affects humans. Your dog's behavior is probably stress. Animals pick up on human anxiety. You're stressed. Your dog senses it. The dog gets stressed. Make sure your dog is getting enough exercise, even if it's just in your yard. Keep to the dog's normal routine as much as possible. That will help. If the behavior continues or worsens, contact a vet. But I doubt it's related to the outbreak. Ingrid, I'm glad you heard from him. Stable is good. It means he's not actively deteriorating. The doctors will do everything they can. This is Ingrid again. She called this morning about her coworker, Felix, who she couldn't reach. She's calling to say she finally heard from him. He was taken to the military facility. He's stable but sedated. She's relieved he's alive but worried about what happens next. Next caller, line 1. Stay in touch with the facility. They should be able to give you updates. Be prepared for a long recovery. Even if he survives, brain injuries take time to heal. Another caller, line 4. Support him however you can. Letters, messages, just knowing people care makes a difference. The military is releasing information through briefings. It's not a cover-up, it's managing a crisis. Cressida, I understand the journalistic impulse, I do. But there are valid reasons to restrict access. Infection control, Patient privacy. Operational security. This is Cressida. She's a journalist. She's asking about access to the military facility. Media is being kept out. She wants to document what's happening inside. If you push too hard for access, you might endanger yourself or others. Respect the boundary. There are ways to report responsibly without compromising the response effort. Document what you can from outside. Interview patients who've been released, if any. Interview families. Tell those stories. I'm seeing reports from other cities now. The places where evacuees went. Some are seeing cases, not many yet, but enough to confirm spread. The city 3 hours north has 5 suspected cases. All recent arrivals from here, they're being tested now. It's 11:38, 22 minutes until midnight. Until tomorrow, technically, though this day feels like it's lasted a week. Another city 2 hours east has 3 cases. Same situation. The bacteria are traveling. We tried to warn people not to flee, but fear is powerful. Now other communities are dealing with the consequences. Those cities are implementing their own containment measures, quarantining the travelers, contact tracing, testing. They're trying to catch it early, prevent what happened here. I hope they succeed. I hope they learn from our experience and do better. But realistically, if multiple cities are seeding outbreaks simultaneously, the resources to contain them all might not exist. This could become regional very quickly, then national. The CDC is coordinating, but they're stretched thin. Every city wants their help. Every governor is demanding federal resources. There's not enough to go around. It's 11:54, 6 minutes to midnight. Let me prepare my hourly update. We've gone from confusion to crisis, from isolated incident to epidemic, from local response to military intervention. The day started with a product recall. 16 hours ago, that seemed like the story. Now the recall is barely relevant. The story is survival. 16, possibly 20 deaths, hundreds sick, thousands exposed. The city locked down, the state in emergency, other cities facing spread, and we still don't have a cure. We're managing symptoms, keeping people alive, but not fixing the underlying problem. The bacteria are still there, still mutating, still spreading. Research continues. Scientists around the world are studying this. Solutions will come eventually. But how many people will die before then? It's midnight. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. I've been broadcasting for 18 hours. Here's where we stand at the start of Tuesday, April 5th. The bacterial outbreak that began at the Nutrivance facility has become a widespread public health emergency. Confirmed deaths are 16, possibly more. Over 200 people are hospitalized. The infection has spread beyond our city to neighboring communities. The bacteria are genetically modified Lactobacillus neurophilus that mutated and produce neurotoxins. Treatment is challenging. Antibiotics have limited effectiveness. Patients require intensive supportive care. Other states are watching nervously as cases appear in their jurisdictions. This could become a national crisis. Our city is essentially locked down. Schools closed. Most businesses closed. People urged to shelter at home. Travel restrictions in place. Federal military resources are deployed. A secure treatment facility is operational. The National Guard is providing security and logistics. The CDC is coordinating response nationally. That's your midnight update. Stay informed. Stay safe. Stay strong. The situation remains extremely serious, but we're not helpless. Medical teams are working tirelessly. Researchers are making progress. The community is pulling together. She's insisting. She says she'll manage. She's been monitoring everything all day. She knows the situation. She can handle it. I'm reluctant, but exhaustion is catching up. If I collapse on air, that doesn't help anyone. Emily's telling me I should rest. She's right. I've been going nonstop, but I don't want to leave. Who will be here if I go? Okay, I'm going to take a break. 2 hours. Emily will keep the broadcast going. I'll be back at 2 a.m. Emily, you've got this. Call me if anything major happens. I'm stepping away from the microphone at 12. Let me tell you what I'm seeing on the monitors. News feeds from around the country. Our story is everywhere. Every network is covering it. International news is picking it up too. This is Emily. Daniel's resting for a bit. I'll keep you updated. I've been working with Daniel for 3 years. Normally I'm behind the scenes, but tonight I'm stepping up. Bear with me. In reality, most of the city is quiet. People are home, safe. The visible crisis is concentrated in specific areas. The hospitals, the military facility, the original outbreak site, but perception matters. The images being broadcast will shape how people think about this. That concerns me. The footage they're showing is dramatic. Hazmat-suited workers, military vehicles in streets, empty downtown. It looks apocalyptic. That's not quite accurate, but I understand why it looks that way. Pharmacy break-ins during a health crisis are predictable. People desperate for medications either for themselves or to resell. It's a crime born of fear and opportunism. It's 12:31. Let me check the police scanner. There's activity in the downtown area. Reports of someone breaking into a pharmacy. Officers responding. I hope they catch whoever it is quickly. I'm trying to maintain the balance Daniel has been striking. Honest about the severity but not sensationalizing. That's probably healthy. Fear motivates precaution. But too much fear leads to panic and poor decision. I'm also monitoring social media. The tone has shifted over the course of the day. This morning people were skeptical, making jokes thinking it was overblown. Now everyone's scared. The jokes have stopped. It's 12:49. I'm getting an alert. Another death reported. The toll is now 17 confirmed. 17 people, each one a tragedy. Families destroyed. I can't imagine what they're going through. I should call the health department to see if they have additional information. But it's almost 1 a.m. Everyone's exhausted. I'll wait until morning unless something urgent develops. The music helps. It's strange how something as simple as a melody can provide comfort. Let me play some music. A few minutes of normalcy. Then I'll come back with more update. It's 1:14 a.m. I'm back. While the music was playing, I was reading through emails and messages that have come in. Hundreds of them. People sharing their stories, asking questions, expressing fear. Tabitha writes, I keep thinking about Saturday morning. He left for work. It was just a normal day. He kissed me goodbye. Said he'd be home Sunday morning. Now he's fighting for his life and I can't even hold his hand. How did this happen so fast? One message is from a woman named Tabitha. Her husband works at the Nutravents facility. He's one of the original patients. He's in the military treatment facility now. She hasn't been allowed to see him. She doesn't know if he's going to survive. The speed of biological events is frightening. Unlike natural disasters that announce themselves, a microscopic organism can spread silently until suddenly it's everywhere. Saturday was 3 days ago. 3 days ago, this bacteria was just a quality control anomaly in a corporate memo. Now it's killed 17 people and infected hundreds more. That question, how did this happen so fast? I think we're all asking that. It's 1:37 a.m. I'm looking at the city through the studio windows. Normally at this hour, you'd see some signs of life, late night workers, bar-goers heading home, maybe some delivery trucks. I want to tell Tabitha her husband will be okay, but I don't know that. I can only say that he's getting the best care possible and that we're all hoping for recovery. Tonight, nothing. The streets are completely empty. Streetlights illuminating abandoned roads. It's post-apocalyptic. That word keeps coming up. Post-apocalyptic, like this is the end of the world. It's not. It's a crisis, a serious one. But the world continues. Most of humanity is unaffected. Even in our city, most people are fine. Let me take a call. Line 3 is lit up. But I understand why it feels apocalyptic. When your world is upended, when the familiar becomes frightening, it might as well be the end of everything. This is someone named Lysander. He's calling from one of the neighboring cities where cases have appeared. He wants to know what to expect. What advice can we offer based on our experience? The faster you move, the better chance you have of preventing what happened here. We were slow to recognize the severity. Don't make that mistake. Lysander, the most important thing is to act fast. Don't wait to see how bad it gets. Implement containment measures immediately. Quarantine exposed individuals. Set up testing. Prepare hospitals. Also, communicate clearly with your community. People need honest information. If you sugarcoat it, they won't take it seriously. If you catastrophize, they'll panic. Find the middle ground. It's 1:56 a.m. Daniel will be back in a few minutes. I'm glad. This is hard. I don't know how he's done this for 18 hours straight. Lysander thanks me and hangs up. I hope his city does better than ours has. It's 2:03 a.m. Daniel's back in the studio. He looks terrible, honestly. His eyes are red. His face is drawn. But he's alert. I think the responsibility weighs on you, knowing that thousands of people are listening depending on you for information. It's a lot of pressure, but someone has to do it. In a crisis, people need voices they can trust. Daniel's been that voice today. I'm trying to be that voice now. I'm giving him a quick briefing on what happened while he was gone. The 17th death. The calls. The general status. He's nodding, taking it in. He sits down at the microphone. This is Daniel. I'm back. Thank you, Emily. You did great. Let me give you a 2 a.m. update, then we'll continue through the night. It's a few minutes after 2 a.m. I slept for about an hour. Not quality sleep, just exhaustion, collapse, but it helped. Current status remains critical. 17 confirmed deaths, over 200 hospitalized. The military facility is treating the most severe cases. Civilian hospitals are managing the overflow and new admissions. Research into treatment continues. Some patients are responding to aggressive antibiotic therapy, others are not. The bacteria's resistance to medication remains a major challenge. Other cities are reporting cases. The outbreak is spreading. The CDC is coordinating a multi-state response. Federal resources are being deployed widely. In our city, the lockdown continues. Empty streets, closed businesses, people sheltering at home. The National Guard is patrolling. Security checkpoints are established. If we're feeling this way and we're not even directly affected, imagine what the patients feel, what their families feel, what the healthcare workers treating them feel. It's 2:19 a.m. I want to address the mental toll this is taking. I've been covering this for 20 hours. Emily's been with me the whole time. We're exhausted, stressed, scared. That's your 2 a.m. status. Not much has changed in the last 2 hours, which is actually good news. If the situation isn't getting worse, that's progress. This is traumatic on a massive scale. When the immediate crisis passes, we'll be dealing with the psychological aftermath for years. Mental health resources are going to be critical. Counseling, therapy, support groups. The city will need to invest in that infrastructure. For now, we survive, we cope, we support each other as best we can. It's 2:37 a.m. Let me take more calls. Line 1. This is someone named Mordecai. He's asking about the long-term prognosis for survivors. If someone recovers from the acute infection, will they be okay? Or will there be permanent damage? Mordecai, the honest answer is we don't know yet. The bacteria cause brain damage in many patients. How much damage, whether it's reversible, whether there will be lasting cognitive or behavioral effects, these are questions that will only be answered over time. Next caller, line 2. Some patients might recover fully, others might have permanent disabilities. It depends on the severity of infection, how long it went untreated, individual variation in response. It's too early to give definitive answers. We need months or years of follow-up data. This is Paloma. She's asking about animals again. Specifically, can animals be carriers even if they don't get sick themselves? With these bacteria, we don't have evidence of that. The bacteria are specifically engineered to interact with human biology. It's unlikely they could survive in an animal host. Paloma, that's a good question. Some diseases use animals as vectors. The animal doesn't show symptoms but can transmit the pathogen to humans. But I'm not a veterinarian or microbiologist. If you're concerned, keep your pets away from potentially infected people or materials. That's just basic caution. This is someone who won't give their name. They claim to be a Nutrivance employee. They say the company knew about the mutation risk months ago, not weeks. There were emails, meetings, discussions. Management made a deliberate choice to continue production because stopping would have cost them millions. Another caller, line 4. They say they do. They're afraid to come forward because they signed non-disclosure agreements. They could be sued. Anonymous caller, if what you're saying is true, that's important information. Do you have documentation, emails, memos, recordings? I tell them there are whistleblower protections. If the company engaged in criminal negligence, an NDA won't protect them from investigation. They should contact law enforcement or a lawyer who handles whistleblower cases. They say they'll think about it and hang up. If that caller is telling the truth and if they come forward with evidence, Nutrivance executives could face criminal charges, not just civil liability, but potential jail time. People died because of corporate decisions. That's manslaughter at minimum, possibly depraved indifference, homicide, depending on what can be proved. Justice is coming for them, one way or another. It's 3:04 a.m., the darkest part of the night. Literally and figuratively. In the old stories, this is the hour when demons come, when despair is strongest, when hope seems furthest away. I'm fighting to stay alert. Coffee isn't helping much anymore, just making me jittery and awake but not sharp. I don't believe in demons, but I understand the metaphor. Everything feels worse at 3 a.m. Emily's struggling too. She's resting her head on the desk. I tell her to go home, get some sleep, come back in the morning. She resists, but eventually agrees. She'll leave at 3:30, sleep for a few hours, return by 8 a.m. I'll manage alone until then. It's 3:22 a.m. Emily just left. I'm by myself now. The studio feels bigger, emptier. The equipment hums. The monitors glow. Outside, the city is dark and silent. I've done overnight shifts before. I'm used to being alone on air. But tonight it feels different, more isolated, more ominous. I keep thinking about the patients in the military facility. Are they conscious? Do they understand what's happening to them? Are they suffering? The bacteria are attacking their brains. changing who they are. Some patients are so aggressive they have to be restrained constantly. That's not them. That's the disease. I can't imagine anything more horrifying. But from their perspective, if they have any coherent perspective left, it must be hell. Feeling your mind slip away, becoming something you don't recognize. It's 3:41 a.m. I need to shake off this mood. Let me focus on something practical. Grocery stores need inventory, gas stations need fuel, pharmacies need medications, hospitals need everything. Supply chains, that's important. With businesses closed and movement restricted, how do we keep essential services running? If supply chains collapse, everything collapses. Food shortages, fuel shortages, medical supply shortages, that's when a crisis becomes a catastrophe. The supply chain industry is working around the clock. Truck drivers like Vaughn, who called earlier, are heroes. They're keeping civilization functioning despite the risks. So far, the supply chains are holding, but they're strained. One more shock, one more disruption, and things could unravel quickly. It's 4:02 a.m. I'm getting word of a fire on the south side, a commercial building. Fire department is responding. In normal times, a fire is just a fire. Emergency services handle it, but during an outbreak, every incident is more complicated. Firefighters have to worry about exposure. Resources are divided between fire response and epidemic response. We need to protect and support these systems. They're as critical as hospitals. I hope no one's hurt. I hope the fire is contained quickly. Thank God. We don't need another crisis on top of the current one. The scanner chatter suggests it's under control. Small fire, mostly smoke. They're ventilating the building now. Daniel, I'm a history teacher. I've spent my career studying plagues, epidemics, pandemics, the Black Death, Spanish flu, cholera outbreaks, all of it. I always wondered how people coped during those times, how they maintained society when death was everywhere. Now I'm living through one. It's not like I imagined. It's more mundane and more terrifying. Mundane because life continues in so many ways. Terrifying because you realize how fragile everything is. Thank you for being there tonight. Hearing your voice helps. It's 4:26 a.m. Dawn is still a couple hours away. The night feels endless. I'm reading emails to stay awake. One is from a man named Quentin. He writes, "The people during past plagues were just people. They were scared. They did their best. They lost loved ones. They survived or they didn't. We think of historical events as inevitable, dates and numbers and textbooks. But to the people living through them, it was just confusing and frightening, day by day, not knowing how it would end." Quentin, thank you for that. You're right. History is different when you're living it. It's 4:51 a.m. I need to move around. I'm getting stiff sitting here. We're the same. We're just people trying to survive. Future history books might have a paragraph about this outbreak, but we're living every minute of it. I stand up, stretch, walk around the studio, look out the windows. The city is still dark, still silent. I think about the 3 million people out there, most asleep, some awake, lying in bed worried, some sick, fighting the bacteria in hospitals. The randomness is hard to accept. Why these people? Why now? There's no reason, no purpose, just biology following its programming. Each one a full human life, each one with stories, relationships, dreams, all affected by microscopic organisms that don't even have brains, that exist only to reproduce. We look for meaning in suffering. We want to believe there's a reason, a lesson, some redemption. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes things just happen. It's 5:14 a.m. The horizon is starting to lighten, just barely. Dawn is coming, but we create meaning through how we respond. Courage, compassion, solidarity. Those are choices. That's where meaning comes from. Emily will be back in a few hours. We'll figure out how to continue coverage, maybe bring in other staff, set up shifts. This has to be sustainable. I've made it through the night, 23 hours on air. I'm running on fumes, but I'm still here. For now, I keep going. The military facility continues treating patients. Civilian hospitals are managing. No reports of major incidents during the night hours. It's 5:33 a.m. Let me give you a 5:30 status update. The situation remains critical, but relatively stable. No new developments overnight. The death toll stands at 17. Hospital numbers haven't been updated. Research continues. No breakthroughs overnight, but work is ongoing. Other cities with cases are implementing their own containment measures. The multi-state response is coordinating. The city remains locked down. Security checkpoints are operational. The National Guard is maintaining order. That's your early morning update. It's 5:56 a.m. The sky is definitely lighter now. I can see the buildings across the street taking shape in the dawn. The sun will rise soon. Tuesday, April 15th is beginning. We face it together. New day, new chances. Maybe today will bring good news, better treatment outcomes, slowing infection rates, signs of containment success. I know that's just the rotation of the planet. There's no cosmic significance, but humans have always found hope in the dawn. It's primal. There's something hopeful about sunrise. No matter how dark the night, morning comes. It's reliable, comforting. What a difference a day makes. Or maybe it will bring more challenges. We'll face whatever comes. It's 6:18 a.m. I've been on air for 24 hours, a full day. I started yesterday morning with a product recall story. Now I'm here exhausted covering an epidemic. I can't do another 24 hours though. We need to get a schedule organized. Relief broadcasters, shifts, sustainability. My voice is hoarse. My eyes burn. My body aches. But I'm still functioning. Adrenaline and purpose keep me going. Emily will handle that when she returns. She's good at logistics. For now, I continue. At 6:41 a.m., the morning commute would normally be starting. Traffic building on highways, coffee shops filling up, the city wake. Today, nothing. The streets remain empty. No commute, no work, just people isolated in homes. How long can we sustain this? Economically, socially, psychologically, weeks, months. Eventually decisions will be made, calculated risks, accepting some level of infection to allow society to function, balancing health and other needs. We can't stay locked down forever, but we can't open up while the bacteria are spreading. We're trapped between impossible choices. Those will be hard decisions. People will disagree. Some will think we're being too cautious. Others will think not cautious enough. It's 7:04 a.m. Let me take calls again. See who's out there. There are no perfect solutions. Line 3 is lit. I answer. She wants people to understand what it's like. The patients are suffering horribly. The seizures are violent. The agitation is extreme. The patients injure themselves thrashing against restraints. It's someone named Perpetua. She's a nurse. She's calling from the hospital during her break. She sounds exhausted. She's also seen incredible bravery. Colleagues treating patients despite the danger. Doctors trying experimental treatments, taking risks because standard approaches aren't working. She's seen brain damage in real time. People who were coherent yesterday are non-responsive today. The bacteria work fast. She's crying now. She says she's so tired she doesn't know how much longer she can do this. Perpetua, you're doing essential work. I know it's hard. I know it feels endless. But you're saving lives. You're making a difference. Take care of yourself. Ask for help when you need it. You can't pour from an empty cup. She thanks me and hangs up. I sit in silence for a moment. She's bringing in another broadcaster, James Kincaid. He normally does afternoon drive. He's coming in to help with coverage. We'll trade off so I can rest. It's 7:28 a.m. Emily's back. She looks better. A few hours of sleep help. The frontline workers are breaking. We need to support them better. More staff, better equipment, mental health resources, whatever they need. James arrives at 7:45. We brief him quickly. He takes the desk. I step away. I'm out of the studio, walking down the hall. My legs are stiff. This is James Kincaid. Daniel needs rest. I'll continue coverage. Stay with us on. I close my eyes. Sleep comes immediately. I'll sleep for 2 hours. Then I'll be back. We'll keep this going. I find an empty office. There's a couch. I collapse onto it. The death toll is now 22. 5 more died overnight. That's devastating. I'm back at 10:07 a.m. James handled the morning briefings, the 8 and 10 a.m. briefings from authorities. He did well. Let me catch up on what happened while I slept. Total hospitalized is 238. The numbers keep climbing. That's the best news we've had. An effective treatment could change everything. But there's some good news. A treatment protocol using a combination of 3 different antibiotics is showing promising results. Several patients who received this treatment are improving. Not cured but stabilized and showing signs of recovery. If this treatment works consistently, we might be able to save the people currently infected. That won't stop new infections, but it gives hope. It's 10:29 a.m. Let me talk about where we are 30 hours into this crisis. The pharmaceutical companies are rushing production of these specific antibiotics. Military is coordinating distribution. Hospitals will receive shipments within hours. We've gone from confusion to understanding. We know what the bacteria are, how they spread, what they do. Knowledge is power. We've gone from no treatment to a potential treatment. Research continues, but we have something that might work. We've gone from chaotic response to organized response. Military, CDC, local authorities are coordinating. Systems are in place. The situation is still dire. People are still dying. New infections are still occurring. But we're fighting back more effectively now. Progress is possible. We're not helpless.